Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Stuff I Heard podcast. This is your host, Josh Peak, and I just had technical difficulties that were hilarious. This is episode 233, and it is June the 14th. Sorry for the delay. I know I normally put these out Fridays or Saturdays, but there's been no rhyme or reason to anything lately because we are on our own rules. It doesn't matter. So anyway, I happen to have Greg Steele here today. Hi, Greg.
What's up? How's everybody doing?
Yeah. So kind of an interesting thing. You and I have done a lot of podcasts via Zoom, and we've messed around with whatever crazy bullcrap I've tried to do with these cords that sometimes were great and sometimes weren't.
I think we started from phone, right?
Yeah, we started in the beginning.
Yeah, at the beginning it was trying to get phones linked, and now
we were like, hey, is this working? And then someone would call and go, no, and it'd lose the thing. And it's just kind of gone from there.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, I didn't know what the plan was. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew I had to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
You just set your mind to it, man. That's
2 years ago.
Yeah, what you wanted to do.
Why are you doing this? I'd be like, I don't know. I can't stop myself.
I'm trying to think of the number of things that you and I have done in our lifetimes where we looked at each other and said, why are you doing that? And the answer was, I don't know.
I don't know. Why not?
Yeah, right.
I mean,
Sure, it's a bad idea.
It's not hurting it.
Yeah.
Well, it's maybe hurting someone, but it's not us. We're fine.
Yeah, that's right. It's like, maybe we could die, but probably not.
Well, there was that one time when I really thought you were going to die jumping into that creek.
Oh, well, what about the time that I fell asleep at the wheel coming home from Myrtle Beach and
we all fell asleep at the wheel at some point.
Treadaway wakes up when I'm about to run off the bridge.
It was more than one time I fell asleep and was imagining different vehicles in front of me that weren't there. And I think one time I came to a complete stop and Josh Treadaway goes, what are you doing? And I was like, Fred Flintstone just pulled out in front of me. He goes, get out of the car. I'm driving. And I was like, what? Okay, fine.
Man, the time I'm talking about is when we went to the beach. And I was still in the Chevy celebrity station wagon.
Ooh, the celebrity. We should talk about the celebrity.
We could talk about the time at Tim's house with the celebrity. That's one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Two of my favorite things about the celebrity. Number one is I had a really cool looking car that left me walking a lot. So it wasn't that cool.
Right, that's right.
And you had a really crappy celebrity station wagon that would never die.
Oh, yeah.
So it became the cool car because it always ran.
Held like 63 people.
Yeah. I can take all of you. Just pile in.
Yeah. I think the three best Chevy celebrity stories. Number one is the time when we went to Myrtle Beach, and we were driving back. It was like 2 a.m. or something, and Treadaway and you were both asleep in the back. I'm driving. I fell asleep on the bridge, and I don't know where that bridge is, but it's almost back to Florence coming from Myrtle Beach. And I fell asleep at the wheel, and literally the bridge curved, and I'm just asleep, and my foot's hitting the gas, so we're going 90 and heading straight for the guardrail of the bridge, and Treadaway wakes up. It's like, way! And so that saved our lives because we were all 100% going to die on that occasion. Probably celebrity story number 2 was the one where we had 58 people in it. And we were driving down.
And I was the sober one.
Yeah, he was sober driving down Hoffmeyer. He's driving it.
And there was a police checkpoint.
The police, yeah.
Where you guys going? And they're all like, we're drunk.
Yeah,
and I'm like, stop it. Just shut up.
Yeah, there's people in the back drunk screaming. And they let us, there's no reason they should have let us
They're like, where are you going? We're like, our house is right there. He's like, you going there and staying there? Yes, sir. All right.
Well, there was definitely a bunch of underage drunk people, but we did have a sober driver, and B, they did not want to deal with us. You could see that guy going, I don't want to do the paperwork for 27 drunk teenagers. Let them go. So that was a good one.
My favorite story, though, I know you have another one coming, but my favorite one is the one where you got your vehicle stolen, and they hopped out of it and went, this thing's a piece of crap, and left it.
Oh, well, the door wouldn't even open, right? So that is another good celebrity story. So I worked at the movie theater at the Florence Mall when it was a Carmike 3, and I was the assistant manager for a while, and I had to make a night deposit, so I took it up to the bank. Now, the celebrity got really wrecked. I hit the back of somebody or something, and so when it wrecked, the driver door wouldn't open, right? So I go up, and I'm dropping off the night deposit, and I have to go out the passenger door because, of course, the driver's door won't open, and I'm putting it in there. Well, someone comes up, robs me at gunpoint, right? Well, they steal my car, and wait a minute, I'm sorry, I apologize. It wasn't the driver's door wouldn't open. It was the passenger, because basically what it was is the passenger side, the whole front was wrecked completely, and that passenger door wouldn't open. So it was two guys actually that held me up. So then they took the deposit, and then they stole my car. And so the one guy gets in the driver's seat, and the other guy's attempting to get in the passenger side, and it won't open. And I told him, I was like, hey, dude, the door won't open. So he gets in the back, they steal it. And then they dump it somewhere, and we get it back. And I was just praying upon prayer that it would never, come back, right? But the police are like, we found your car. And I'm like, well, it can't be any better than it was, because it's all wrecked up. But the best, and I think my favorite one, was one of the managers at the movie theater was this old guy named Tim, right? And when I say old, you have to realize younger than we are now at that time.
I found out later Tim was in Vietnam, so yeah.
Yeah, but to us, he was old, right? And so he used to buy us beer. We'd party at his house, do all this stuff. And so one time, we were at his house, and I had the Chevy Liberty pulled up where the passenger side was pointing towards Tim's house away from the road. So when you looked at my car from the road, it looked perfectly fine. But on the other side, the whole side was torn up and just wrecked and all this stuff. And so we're standing out there, and it was like the daytime, and I guess we were going to have a party over there or something. So we look across the street, and across the street, there's this young girl and her mother. And they're getting in the car, and it's very clear that the mother is getting ready to try to teach the daughter how to drive, right? And so they get in this car, and the whole time the mother's just like killing her. And I'm like, Jesus, how's she going to teach her to drive? So anyway, this young girl gets in the car, puts the keys in, puts it in reverse, and proceeds to back out of the driveway directly into the side of the bike of the celebrity, right? So she hits us immediately. This girl's at first driving lesson. She backs into the car, and we are all just out there just dying laughing. And the mother is yelling at this girl, and she finally looks at us, and we're just all laughing so hard because she hit this car. And the mother's like, we just hit your car. What? And I was like, step around to the other side. The other side is just totally destroyed. I was like, and I was like, yeah, I'll just make you a deal. I was like, just stop yelling at her, and we'll just call it even. I was like, I guarantee you that whatever she just did hitting this car is nothing compared to the damage. And we were getting ready to take it to the junkyard like the next week. But it was so hilarious because she just, the first time ever driving, puts it in reverse and just backed right in. And
I'm so glad that was your first vehicle, because if you think about it, that was actually a really safe vehicle for you to have. Oh my God, yeah, there's
no telling. Yeah, you're not kidding. But I mean, can you imagine that? You're teaching your child how to drive. Your child, the first time coming to the driveway, backs into a car, and everyone in the yard, like there's a bunch of people in that yard, and they're all cracking up, dying laughing because you hit the car, and it doesn't make any sense, right? And I'm like, yeah, step around.
Yeah. Oh, I've done way worse.
Oh my God.
Let's see what I did to the vehicle.
Yeah, it's like child's. Yeah, that's the kind of thing a junior driver would do. That damage.
Yeah.
Let me show you some real damage.
Yeah.
I'll show you how to wreck a car.
I wonder where that kid is nowadays.
Oh my God, that was so unbelievable.
That kid right now, you think about it age-wise, that kid right now is teaching their kid how to drive.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Wow.
Looking around, like driving around looking for a Chevy Celebrity station wagon so that they can back into it.
She has fond memories of you. She's like, I remember this one guy.
It's like, I hit this dude's car and he was just cracking up.
Well, I remember when you upgraded to like the Mitsubishi, like it was a nice car, and I was like, what happened to the other car? And you go, oh, it's done.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I didn't get to see the end of the car. I just heard about the end of the car.
No, they took it to the junkyard. I think we got like 57 cents for it. The guy's like, we're like, can you take the car? And he's like, no, I can't even take it. It's like, please take the car. It's like,
I'll pay you.
Yeah. He's like, I'll pay you for it. Okay, let me see what's in my ashtray.
Yeah. There might be some old bottles of a liquor underneath here.
Oh, you're not kidding. But that was a fun car, and it served us well. I mean, it wasn't any high-class car by any means. But
no, but it ran all the time. Even though I'm sure towards the end it ran poorly, it still would keep running.
We didn't care.
It was crazy.
Yeah. Well, and
that was the first car. I think that was the first car that your mom had when I met you. She took us to Spencer's in that car.
No, she.
And I accidentally sprayed fart spray all over us, and we had to go home in that car smelling like fart spray. Your mom's thinking, what has he gotten himself into?
I mean, the worst thing, I remember that.
Of course, it's hard to forget that. It was awful.
You wouldn't think you'd remember that. However, I didn't think ever that smelled like a fart. It smelled awful.
I didn't think it'd ever go away. Oh, no, I remember reading the can, and I was going, that can't smell like that. And then I think I dropped it or something, and the lid broke, and it just sprayed all over us. I was like, ah! It was like one of those things.
Oh, that's the second best spray story, right? The first best spray story is when we worked at the movie theater, and we were doing midnight shows, right? And so we were doing a midnight show of Faces of Death.
Oh.
Yeah, stupid. But we did these midnight shows, and it'd sell out, and we always had hired off-duty police officers in order to, provide security. Mm-hmm. So... I don't, you have to be old like me to remember that movie theater, but it was kind of like this one long tunnel hallway.
Like a shotgun hallway.
Yeah. And so, one night, Tim, again, of course, is talking to the security officer, and they're talking about pepper spray. Well, they'd gone out the back door, and so basically it was this big wind tunnel, right? Mm-hmm. And so the policeman was, trying to be all bad, and he's like, hey, I'll show you. I'll spray the pepper spray for you. So he sprays it, and the wind blows it into the movie theater.
Oh, no.
Yes. And, it's sold out for Faces of Death.
Oh,
and,
no.
Everybody starts going... And we had to refund every single person's money because he sprayed pepper spray outside and it blew in the movie theater and choked everybody out.
Oh, wow.
I was like, that's real Faces of Death. You wanted real Faces of Death? Here it is.
Holy cow. Man. One of the coolest things that not only the cool aspect of having a friend that worked at the theater that could get you in to watch movies.
Oh, yeah.
But one of the coolest things was seeing Jurassic Park for the first time, and the film was off a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And as we started to watch it...
you see the boom mic.
You saw not only the boom mics, but it was like practical effects back then, so it would be like mechanical things.
Yeah.
And people holding levers and pushing things, and you got to see it, and it was like... Yeah, I had no idea you could actually see that. But you're watching these dinosaurs, and you see people behind it, and they're holding buttons, and you hear the thing go... Roar! You're like, yeah, but this is... It's just that moment that took you out of it enough that you went, oh, this is really cool the way they shot this, but I didn't know you could actually see that if it was off a little bit.
Yeah.
And it made me wonder, all the movies that you got to load, if every once in a while you got to see something, you're like, oh, wow, I had no idea that's how that scene was cut or something like that.
Well, I remember that happening in Jurassic Park. Seeing the boom mic specifically, hanging down, you're like, uh-oh, I messed up.
Yes.
And to explain, right, so one of the things that I used to have to do is build the movies. Now, these days, all the projectors are digital, and, literally Sony emails the movie that loads into this digital projector. But back then, it was actually movie reels, film reels.
And bunches of cans that you had to put on a big tray and tape together.
Yeah, a movie itself was a huge tray, and it would come in 10 separate reels. And so what you had to do is, Thursday night, when a movie was going to open Friday night, one of my jobs was it's over. The movies are done for that night. I have to build that movie, basically splice all of those reels together to make the big movie, and then that's what you see. And the worst part... Because, when we used to have the most fun was I'd finish building the movie, and then all my friends would come in, and we'd drink beer and throw popcorn at each other, watch the movies, right? But you had to watch them in case I screwed it up, because sometimes I would, put a reel on backwards. And so we'd be watching the movie, and then all of a sudden the film would flip over.
You'd skip 15 minutes ahead, you're like, wait, what just happened? You're like, crap, and run upstairs.
Yeah, I know, and then I had to go upstairs, and I was like, drink another beer, I'll be back, I got to fix this thing, right? Yeah, but so just to make sure I didn't screw it up, we had to watch it. So why not watch it with all your friends and have a good time? We used to take the mop bucket and fill it with ice and put beer in it, and you could roll the mop bucket up and down the center aisle. Nice. And oh my God, the popcorn we wasted. Holy cow, we'd be big popcorn fights.
We got in one bad one where you were like, all right, I'm kicking all of you out. Just get out now. I don't have patience for this.
Yeah,
I was like, sorry, we'll help you clean up.
I probably was pissed off because I put a reel on backwards, and I'm trying to fix it, and you guys were probably bugging the crap out of me.
To be fair, I think I was a little obnoxious that day.
Yeah.
A little more than normal.
But man, that was a fun job. A couple cool things about that. It was one of the very few places in the mall that had a hatch on the roof, right? So we'd be running around on the roof of the mall at whatever times.
I never got to do that. I was usually working
you didn't get to do
job.
That? Oh, it's terrible.
I heard about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun.
I did go up one time when you guys were shooting fireworks off the top, and I was like, "Oh, look, fireworks!" And then the security went up, and I was like, "Oh, how'd they go?"
Yeah, there's a 0% chance that we were of any number one, age and maturity, but B, us personally should have had access to anything. And then the other thing is that manager that we had, like, you'd have movie passes and we would just trade movie passes for everything. Like, our manager was so bad. I think he traded the manager of Sears like $400 in movie tickets for new tires or something.
Oh, wow.
But we would trade movie passes at the candy shop for free candy, free ice cream.
Yeah.
I mean, everything in the mall. We were giving away free, just getting whatever we wanted by trading movie passes. That was pretty fun, too.
Yeah.
You can't do fun stuff like that anymore.
You can't.
No.
Well, and to be honest, I mean, I get it. It's, you got to have accountability and stuff like that. And it's like stay in business.
It's illegal. I mean, whatever.
Yeah. You didn't think about it back then. You're like, this is probably not what you do.
Well, you wouldn't know this, but movie companies will actually like have these people that travel the country and they'll come into your movie theater and they'll say, I want to see your receipts for how many people paid for this movie. And then they go in there and they count. And if there's a whole bunch of people in there that didn't pay, then they're like, you're in trouble. Yeah, right. Yeah. So that happens. I mean, not all the time, but it is a possibility, right?
Well, like I used to work when I was in the Marine Corps. There was a 21-plex that had opened up, and I'd never seen a theater that big before. I mean, coming from Florence, our biggest theater had
3-plex.
Had 4. Julia 4 was
the
the
Capri,
4.
the Julia,
So 21 was like, oh my God, And I had a friend that I worked with that worked up there part time, and he's like, I'm making decent money. He goes, plus. He's like, there's so much that's needed. There's no amount of work that you can do if you want to work. And I was like, okay, well, I need some money. So I had volunteered to work up there and got set up, signed my, W-4 or whatever. And I was like, all right, what do I need to work? And they're like, you can just work till, 11 or 12, whatever you feel comfortable with. And then when you get ready to go, we understand you got to go because you're in the military and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. They said, just check in with this guy. And I don't know who the guy was, Mark, Steve, whatever his name was.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm cleaning up popcorn and I'm kind of following people's leads of what to do. And, we're going theater to theater. And I was like, what do you do when you're waiting for something to happen? And they go, just go in here and watch a movie. And I was like, okay. So before long, I'm watching movies and I was like, watching the end of the movie and going, oh crap, I'm supposed to clean. So I'd have to hop up and go clean. But then I'd go around and I'd try to find this Mark or Steve or whatever his name was. And I couldn't find him. They're like, oh, he went home hours ago. I'm like, so how do I clock out? And they were like, you work here? And I was like, I'm wearing your shirt. Like I've been literally cleaning up places all day.
Yeah.
And I was like, can I, do I work tomorrow? I don't know. We got to check with somebody. So I think I worked there 3 weeks. They never knew I worked there. I never got paid for working there. And I saw all the movies that were playing for those 3 weeks for free because I was like, well, this is our trade-off because apparently you're not going to pay me. And so I'm just not going to keep working. Yeah. But I'll keep wearing the shirt and showing up and I'll grab my tools.
Go in the movie.
And I'll go watch this movie. And then I'll go watch that movie. And then I'll go watch this other movie.
Yeah.
But I got to thinking about the fact that, in these multiplexes, there's no way they can keep up with who's going from this theater to that theater.
No, they can't.
And so there was a time where that was our thing that we would do because I told the guys that I worked with, I was like, listen, there's no way they can keep up with this. We pay for one movie in the matinee, and then we can just stay all day and watch all the movies. And they were like,
sure.
We can? And I was like, why not?
Yeah.
So we had a list, and we would literally just go in. We'd pay for a matinee, military discount,
Yeah.
And then they just lose track of us.
Oh, sure.
And we'd spend all day in there watching everything. It was like, we'd do that once a month. And I was like, this is really great.
Yeah, they can't.
If we only come over once a month, they have no idea who we are.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, it's one of those businesses where, like my mother, when I worked there, like my mother liked something free. Don't get me wrong, right? And she watched every single movie for the years that I worked there. Even good movies, bad movies. She didn't care. I told her, I was like, Mom, that movie is terrible. Don't go see it. She'd go see it. She didn't care. She's like, I'm going to watch every movie. Okay. But it was nice to be able to see. That's an exceptionally good job. Yeah. And especially like back then, I mean, a projectionist actually had to do something to start the movies. Now it's just a button because it's digital, right? But I mean, like, I don't know. It's like you'd start the movie and then you had 2 hours, right? Till you had to do anything else. And then you started another movie and you had a couple hours and then you went home. I mean, you cleaned the theater a little bit, but...
Well, and with these 21 plexes, that was right around the time things started becoming digital. So it was literally like everything was on autopilot.
Yeah. Oh, no.
They'd have
absolutely
a control board like this, and they just go, hit that one, hit that one.
I'm not even sure they have to. I don't even know what they have to do anymore because maybe it's all on a timer now.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was some ridiculous stuff because, like, we had all our friends working there at that movie theater. I remember Vic Smith used to work there, right? Our friend Vic from high school, man, he's crazy. But I remember one night, it was like Jurassic Park, I think, when the first night theater is sold out, and so everybody's waiting to get in the theater. The entire lobby's packed full of people, and in this movie theater, there was a concession stand in the lobby, and then there was going in the movies. There's only like a threeplex, right? So there wasn't a bunch of space. So the whole lobby's full of people, and I'm standing there behind the concession counter, like by the popcorn thing or whatever, and in this lobby full of people, Vic comes up behind me, and he screams, "Hey, look at me!" And then he ducks down behind the counter, and every person in that place is looking at me. And I'm just sitting there like, yeah, look at me. I mean, just stupidity, right? Like, that's the stupid stuff that we used to do.
I got in big time trouble in school one time because of Vic. He was he sat in front of me, and we would talk once in a while. And one day he's like, I've been working out a lot. And I was like, really? He goes, yeah, check this out. And he pushed his arm. And the way he pushed his arm up behind me, like he was blowing on and I cracked up laughing, and they sent me out of the class because I couldn't stop laughing.
Oh, man. Vic's crazy. I wonder. I haven't talked to him in a long time. I mean, I have a number in my phone for him, but he doesn't really pick it up. He was living in Charleston last time I knew about him.
Okay.
And he was doing pharmaceutical something or other, and Rodney might still talk to him. Or maybe, but, he's kind of fell off the earth.
I know he was in Columbia for a while because somebody here had said they'd bumped into him there. Yeah. I didn't know he was in Charleston.
Yeah, he was in Charleston a long time as far as I understand, but, yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Vic, if you're listening to this.
Yeah, that's right. What's up?
Call a homie.
Yeah,
Reach out to us.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you got to come up to visit. I know you had other plans, but, things got changed at the last minute and whatnot. And
yeah, we were talking last night kind of about all the stuff we were supposed to be doing that we couldn't do from the virus. We were supposed to be in Cape Cod, Massachusetts this week. Of course, that got canceled, right?
You're all renting a house?
No, we were actually staying. So it was a work conference that I was going to. And so I was in a hotel right on the ocean. It was really going to be nice. And we were going to go to Martha's Vineyard and go to all, do all that stuff. So that got canceled. But, I mean, it's just one of those things. It was a boring time, right?
We actually did that trip up there and went to Martha's Vineyard and walked around. And they have those, what they call gingerbread houses that are really, tied close together. And they have the real ornate looking woodwork done on them and stuff like that. And it's really cool to see. There's one of the fun things to do there. I'm sure you get to go at some point, but one of the fun things to do there is they have an old merry-go-round. It's like one of the first merry-go-rounds ever to hit the United States. And they have a merry-go-round there that you can ride on, and they have these ring systems that are on the outsides. So as you're going around, you can reach out and grab these rings, and if you grab a bunch of these rings, I think it's like you can accumulate points for the rings, but there's a gold ring every now and then that you get that shoots out. If you get the gold ring, you get another turn for
it's
free.
Like Mario Brothers.
So it's kind of fun.
Mario Brothers.
It's actually kind of fun. Yeah. I mean, it's a neat little setup. Of course, I don't know what that's gonna. I mean, where everything is up in the air as to what's going to be available for people to do. My wife and I had a discussion this morning about our trip to Disney. She's like, listen, I'm at the point now I want to make an executive decision. And I was like, okay.
Uh-oh.
She said, our trip to Disney is not happening. She's like, I've been looking at it. We had a trip planned for December. But she's like, everything that I'm listening to and everything I'm watching, they're saying that they don't see it going back to normal for probably another year. And she's like, I don't want to go down there and have to wear a mask. I don't want to go down there and not get to experience the fireworks or not get to ride some of these rides or, have this weird social distancing crap come up when it's time to book reservations. She's like, right now they're saying that they're not going to give you dinner reservations. They're not going to give you fast passes. They're not going to give you all the stuff that is normal. And she's like, why would we want to go do that and not get to have the experience that we're paying this much money for? I think our trip was like around $6,000 for the trip. And she's like, why would you spend $6,000 for something that's just going to be crap? And I was like, that's a good point. And she goes, I told her, I said, one of the things about vacation for us especially is it's something to look forward to. I said, and honestly, up to now, I haven't been looking forward to it. She's like, me either. I was like, if we're going to do something, I want to have something to be like, I can't wait till we go do this. Because it's the escape. It's the thing that you feel like you're working towards.
Oh, yeah. Like the mundane, everyday stuff you're doing to get somewhere, right? Yeah. Yeah, to go be able to do something nice.
It'd be like I'm going to pay $6,000 for a root canal. Oh, boy, I can't wait to let root canal. I get to spend all week having it, too. Oh, that's going to be so awesome. I can't wait. I get to film myself with my face covered. And
nice.
You can't see anything. Nice. I'm going to just be miserable the whole time. No.
Well, so interestingly, we have booked our October. So our anniversary is October. We always usually go to the beach. And we had booked 2 years ago when the hurricane came through and destroyed everything. We had rooms booked in Biloxi at the Beau Rivage for a couple of nights, and then we were going to Panama City. Or not Panama. Yeah, Panama City for the beach for a little while. And that all got shot because of the hurricane that hit in 2018. And last year we went, but it was very short. And so this year we booked that again, and that's October. And I'm not sure what's going to happen. Like, I'm not sure, I'm not going to wear a mask on the beach by any means, right? But I don't know what it's going to be like and what else.
You think you won't?
Yeah. No, I won't. Sorry.
I said the same thing about Disney. I was like, I'm not wearing a mask at Disney. I'm not.
Well, no, I mean, I'm going. I'm just like, if I'm 6 feet away from you outside, there's no reason for me to wear a mask, right?
There's no point.
Yeah, there's no, I'm going to take a cattle prod. With that. People harass me, I'll just
I love
hit them up.
the video or the picture of the guy wearing he's got like a bandana thing on, but it's got like those pool noodles that are 6 feet long and they're pointing out in all directions. Right. It's like his own personal spacing thing, and I was like, that's kind of creative.
I think Wes may have actually gone. I'm not 100% sure, but some bar up there had these like inner tube things everyone was wearing, right?
I saw that. It was advertised. He's like, we did that. I was like, you did? He goes, that's right. Great.
Yeah. So, and I think personally that they should do that all the time. Because there's people I might drink with that I'd like to stay away 6 feet away from at all times, regardless of the virus. So I'm down. Let's do it. Right?
Yeah. I don't know.
I do. I
have a lot of photos that says otherwise.
Yeah, right.
On my phone.
Yeah, exactly. I would like for for us to put another trip together for us, like we did before.
Yeah.
I'd like to go to Maryland. I'd like to go up and see West and do some of that kind of stuff.
I think it'd be fun.
I don't know when we can. We need to see, but I'd like.
He doesn't listen to this podcast, so we could talk about him, and he doesn't care. It's like he's like oblivious.
I think the big thing is that even if he did listen to the podcast, we'd talk about him. I mean,
of course, but it'd be a lot more fun if we got some feedback from him. But he doesn't actually listen to the podcast.
No, yeah.
He's up there playing his imaginary game, which you apparently played today.
Yeah. The game that will not be named.
The Voldemort of activities. Yeah. We're talking about pickleball, guys.
Yeah, we played. So my mother and Frank, they love to play pickleball.
Allegedly.
And yes, this game that allegedly exists. And so
that you may or may not play
my
today.
wife's been interested in it, so she says to them yesterday, let's go play pickleball. So there you go. Yesterday and today we played. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
Now you currently own a paddle and stuff?
I own nothing. Frank and my mother own that stuff. I don't have anything. Although, Lane already is like, I'm going to get some pickleball. I'm like, okay, good for you.
Yeah. You'll be playing.
It's fun. I mean,
I'll be playing.
It's not bad. I mean, it's better than tennis. I'll give you that.
I'm going to have to make a video of me playing this imaginary sport at some point because I know it's going to come around full circle.
Tennis is atrocious, so it's a lot more fun than tennis. I'm going to give you that. Now,
tennis is rough.
If an advertisement is a lot more fun than tennis, I'm not sure what that. I'm not sure that says, "Oh, I'd like to do that," right? Because there's a whole bunch of things that are a lot more fun than tennis. But it's pretty fun. It's
the
all
selling
right.
point.
Yeah, exactly. If that's all you got, that's not too good.
I got to tell you guys, it's a lot better than tennis.
It's like a lot better than a root canal.
It's a lot better than a root canal. It's a lot better than Disney in quarantine. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no kidding. But I mean, I can't say it wasn't fun. It was fun. We had a good time.
Well, of course. I mean, that's one of the things about fitness and stuff like that and working out. Is I'm not a fan of going in there and lifting weights up and down over and over again. I do that for work. I lift heavy things for work.
Yeah.
So for me, whenever I'm, quote unquote, getting into a fitness frame of mind, it's usually playing something. Mm-hmm. So playing a game would be very fun for me.
Well, and there's not as much running. Like pickleball's court is smaller, so it's got a lot of rules similar to tennis. Couple of differences that if you play tennis are incredibly hard to get your brain around, to make the change. But the court's a lot smaller. It's not nearly the running, right?
And it's like with a wiffle ball type thing.
Yeah,
right?
So I can't say it wasn't a good time. We had fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Kind of like a table tennis without the table.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I can't say Josh West was wrong and that it's no fun. And I played with Josh West in Atlanta when he came down last time, and we had a good time playing there, too. And
I just like the level of mockery, though, because he had like a hockey-sized bag of his equipment, And it just made it more fun to think of all the imaginary things that could be in the bag that large that he's taking to the court to play.
Well, he is a hockey fan. I mean, I'll just say, and soccer, by the way.
Well, yeah, soccer.
Yeah, it's like all of the bastardized, retarded sports.
All the ones that you have to work really hard for. Maybe the pickleball is the one that he's working the least hardest for. But yet he just has that much equipment, which I don't understand. I mean, I don't know. I mean, my mom and Frank had a much smaller bag than that. Oh, I'm sure.
But it had like 5 paddles and 8 balls in it. That's all you needed. That was fine. Yeah. But it was pretty fun. I mean, I can't say I dislike it.
There's a place here in Florence to do it?
Yeah. Yeah, Timrod Park. That's where we were. At Timrod Park. They have courts at Timrod Park, and there were a bunch of people there. It's not like nobody's playing.
So you had to like sit on the sidelines and be like, I got next?
Well, we were fortunate both days. We went later Saturday because the first thing Saturday morning was really busy, and we would have had to wait. But we went later Saturday, and so we didn't have to wait. And then today it was about half as busy as Saturday was. So we didn't have to wait. But there's 6 courts, but all of the tennis courts also are marked off with pickleball courts. So if those courts were full, you could go to the tennis courts, and they had like 14 of those or something. So there's plenty of places you could play, but it's a pretty popular. It's become really popular. My mom and Frank took their RV, and they were on the road for 2 years. And out in California, is where they were playing a lot before it ever came over here.
See, that's believable.
Yeah. They said, when they came to Florence, like they said, none of the stores had any pickleball equipment, and we went to Sports Authority, and they got a whole wall full of pickleball stuff. So obviously, it's popular here. So anyway,
yeah,
but it was. I mean, we had a good time. I can't say it wasn't fun. It was fun.
I think the best part about pickleball so far is this sport that I thought was made up. Someone from their top pickleball paddle company reached out to me and was like, hey, we want to advertise on your podcast. And I was like, wrong guy, dude.
John, understand that Josh's entire goal has been for someone to advertise on his podcast. And
no, it's not my entire goal. It just would make it better if there was a check at the end of the rainbow of saying, you did something and here's some money. You did a good job.
So who calls but pickleball after he's mocked it mercilessly for years?
I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, that's how life works. Whatever you talk the worst about is what's going to come around.
Well, listen, I've heard Joe Rogan talk about, he's gotten approached by, companies like Tide and Crest, and he goes, I don't care about your company. He's like, I want to advertise people that I like, that I use. He goes, and I mean, you're in your corporate greed section of things, and I just use your stuff sometimes. I don't use it all the time, but I'm not going to be like, I'm the face of blah, blah, blah. He goes, no, forget that. He's like, I'm just going to advertise what I like. And I thought, I like that. I like the honesty of that, because there's a lot of people that'll just whore themselves out for whatever.
Oh, sure.
And it's like, nah.
Oh, sorry. No, like, I'd want to advertise, like, Tide Pods. I'd be like, okay, A, can I advertise only Tide Pods? B, can I encourage children to eat them? Like, if I can do that, I'm in. Count me in. And you pay me for that. Right? Yeah.
Oh, man. We used those for a little while. We switched over to the Gain Flings, which I like a lot better because of the smell. The Gain Flings smell better. And they're cheaper. But like Kroger has one that's the Kirkland brand. It's supposed to be even better, and it's way cheaper. I get the Consumer Reports on a regular basis, and they're like, if you have a Kroger, use Kirkland brand for everything. I was like, really? And like almost everything they rate on their everything, every cleaning supply, every food change.
That's Costco, isn't it? I mean, is Costco...
Is Kirkland, Costco, are they owners of each other, maybe?
Yeah, I think Kroger is associated with Costco, and Kirkland.
Our closest Costco is at the beach.
Kirkland is Costco's name brand stuff. Yeah, I mean they have Kirkland everything in there.
Apparently their stuff is really good. I haven't used it just because we don't have a Kroger or a Costco nearby.
Yeah, Costco's amazing from the standpoint of it being like the number one wine retailer in the world. They sell more wine at Costco than anywhere else in the world. And there's a lady whose job it is just to pick out Costco wine. I saw a special on her that was pretty interesting. But they made their own vineyard, so they could have their own Kirkland line of wines, and it's supposed to be good. They make their own whiskey. There's a Kirkland whiskey that people will say is good, and it's cheap, whatever.
Well, apparently they do a lot of research making really good other stuff, cleaning supplies,
food,
food things that are non-name brand.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, every time I get a Consumer Reports, I'm always amazed that they're always at the top of the list for things. I'm like, really? Okay.
Yeah. That's Costco brand stuff. And
hey, Costco, if you're out there listening, come to Florence. Just saying.
Come sponsor his podcast.
We need
We'll talk more about it.
Just come to Florence. I want to buy some of your product and try it out. I'll talk about it. I don't care. my goal here is just to promote the positive. So whatever we find out that works, great. I want to talk about it and, give everybody shout outs and all that fun stuff. I mean, that's kind of the goal.
Yeah, we spent a little bit of time talking yesterday and looking at a YouTube video before this about the Tesla solar roof, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's probably cost prohibitive, unfortunately, because I'd really like to get one. But that's a lot.
Well, I mean, I'm like, I hear people talk about how expensive it is, but also that it's worth it. And I'm like, okay, describe to me how it's worth it. Like, break down the numbers. And
yeah, right.
So, like, I do have some people that I work with that have solar roofs, and they've told me, oh yeah, it actually is. I'm basically paying around what I was paying before, but now I have solar and I don't have an electric bill. And some of them are saying that they're getting money back from the power company, that they actually generate more power than they need. So it's one of those things where it's almost like. We had somebody come around, I think it was a company called US Solar. This lady came around and she was like, actually, we have a thing where we can sell you this thing and we'll eat the cost of it if you're willing to like sell us the electricity from it. And I was like, wait, what?
Oh.
And she was explaining how, this industry is so booming right now and the power companies are actually the ones pushing it. Here in our area, Progressive Energy, I guess, is pushing for it a lot. Because it realizes it takes a lot of the drain off of their infrastructure.
Less fossil fuels and all that stuff. Right?
And it just makes everything work at a better rate for them. And then if they can generate electricity from everybody's home rather than having to pay to lease someone's field, then they can lift the strain on their power grid altogether and still make more money. And I was like, well, that's interesting. I'd like to talk to somebody about that.
I'd like to look at, I think you'd really have to run the numbers, right? Because the guy was talking about how he took out this loan, supposedly low-interest loan, to get the solar panels, and then this guy in California said his electric bill had been like $550, and so he didn't have an electric bill anymore, plus he was getting, he said a check, but he didn't talk about how much the check was as far as this extra power he was selling back.
Yeah.
So basically, it sounded more like it was a zero-sum game, like he didn't win and he didn't lose, although eventually he'd win, you'd think, right, once he paid off the loan.
Yeah.
But I think you'd have to look, too, at tax incentives, and I don't know what that is. Like, tax credits are the bomb, right?
Now,
so,
what I've heard locally is that you get a federal amount, and the federal amount is somewhere around $6,000 for your initial cost. You get $6,000 back immediately.
Nice.
And then you also get like $6,000 back from the state. The state's only allowed to give you like $3,000 a year, so they give it to you over multiple years as like a thank you for going green.
Well, the great stuff about that stuff is that those are tax credits, right? Like it's not a write-off. It's like it's a dollar for dollar tax credit. Actually lowers. I did that with an air conditioner. I bought an air conditioner back when they had tax credits to get like a more efficient one. Because my air conditioner in my house was from like 1980.
Yeah.
Right? So it was during the Obama years, and they put out this thing, and I actually bought a bigger unit than I needed because by getting the bigger unit, my tax credit was so good that I actually
you were looking for a bigger unit your whole life.
I
all you had to
know
do
it.
was buy one.
I'm still looking. That's very elusive. I'm not getting a tax credit for that. Just be honest. I wish I was.
We're actually looking at your mom and Frank have built that house with those slimline air conditioners. And
those are awesome.
We were talking about putting one upstairs in the room above the garage. And Dolores was looking online last night, and it looks like you can buy one for about $1,500 that would take care of that room with no problem. And I was like, with labor, maybe a little over $2,000 to put it in. It might be worth it to save the electricity and then also make it more comfortable up there, because eventually we'll have him out of the house, and that's still going to be like the room to be the bedroom for guests because it's got the full bathroom.
Right.
We're going to pull that carpet out of there. We're going to put in some laminate flooring, repaint everything, of course. I'm going to build a walkway from that closet into the attic, and then we're going to build out in the room like an external closet type deal. That way, that's freed up as just like a hallway into the closet. Into the attic area. So, all that's going to get changed eventually whenever he moves out or whatever.
Well, those splits are interesting. Before they started working on them, I didn't know what they are, right?
Yeah.
But rather than your normal air conditioning unit, it's these units that mount to the wall, and all they have to have is a drain line, basically. Like they have a power line and a drain line, and other than that, you have no duct work and you have no anything, and there's this little box outside that's quiet.
But there's gas.
Nice.
He's talking about the gas that runs to it, and I think the gas is those thicker looking lines.
Yeah.
But he's got the box outside that's real slim and super quiet.
Yeah.
But that line's got to run somewhere. And I was like, we have an air conditioning guy that we like, and if he can put it in and it's done professionally and looks like it's supposed to look and all that fun stuff, I'd rather just pay him to do it than me do it, because I don't know enough about it, and I don't want to mess it up.
Well, I'm interested to know, like, if you wanted to convert your current house over to that, you already have ducts, because you have to run those lines somewhere. And I was like, well, can you just run the lines through the ducts? Because the ducts aren't going to do anything for you. If you switch to those slim lines, you're not even using your ducts anymore.
Well, you're not using your ducts at all.
Yeah. I wonder if you could run the lines through them. I don't know. It's an interesting question.
I think most people leave their ducts alone because you're not using them anymore, but they're there.
Well, what Frank said, so...
like his house doesn't have them now, but like our house would have them currently. Well, if we had one in a room, you just have the ducts there. You could you could close the vents on them, or you could leave them open. Doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, I thought it was interesting because he did a lot of research into it before they put him in their house, and he basically said, and they actually had representatives from the companies, 2 different companies, come and talk to him about how you do this, and he didn't do it that way because that's not what Frank does. Frank does he does his own thing.
Yeah.
But he basically said what they all say is that you have to install the unit on an external wall, and then they drill a hole through the wall, and they run it, and they put that box outside, and then, it's all... Now, Frank wanted his on internal walls, and now he's building the house, which is an advantage because he can do what he wants, right? Mm-hmm. But he actually put them all on internal walls and then just ran, piping and drains
through the beams
through the house itself.
Yeah.
So he wasn't restricted to that, as compared to, like, if I decided I want to change my house over to that, then I have to, like, get all external walls done and have boxes and all that stuff, because I don't have the ability. I'm not building the house. I can't do all that, right?
Yeah.
So if you're building a house, I mean, it's like the wave of the future. You assume that all the houses are going to be like that. It's like individual units in every room. You can change them for everything. You can turn them off in specific rooms if you're not using them. I mean, it's cleaner. It's more efficient. It's cheaper. You can control
everything with your phone now, too.
Yeah.
Like if you're away from the house and you're like, I want to turn it on now.
Yeah.
Or I want to turn it off now. Maybe I'm not going to be there for a week. There's no reason to run it super cold. Or I want to turn it down.
Yeah.
You could do it all from your phone.
I mean, it even has, like, I was looking at it. They have remote controls for each of them. And, like, so basically, like, it has these flaps, and then it has external flaps that direct where the air goes. Then it has internal flaps, and there's buttons on the remote control where you can control where it's pointing and stuff, because we were in a bedroom where the unit they put in was blowing directly down on us, so I just upped the flaps and turned them, and so it wasn't blowing directly on us. But that thing's pretty cool, man. I can't,
Well, I mean, in the size of the one in that bedroom would do that up there.
Easy.
And that's a really cheap one.
Oh, my God. The one that's in that bedroom, like, we turned it up the last 2 nights because it is so cold. Like, it is,
like, and for your house, you wouldn't necessarily need to do that with your house because, like you said, you just put a new unit on there. The unit you have on there is probably good for another 15 years.
Oh, yeah.
But it is one of those things where you think in the future of, if I'm ever going to change something, what would I do?
Oh, yeah. No, I don't think I'd ever buy... I never want to buy an old unit like I had again. No. Now that I've seen these
well,
are
and it's only
so
going to get
better.
more efficient as time goes on.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about Tesla saying that they had to build their cars, and up to that point, all air conditioning and heating systems were built on a pulley system because the motor would turn, and of course it would turn a pulley that would cause the fan to go. They didn't have that with an electric engine, so they basically had to build an environmental control system that didn't operate on that at all. And it would drain a lot of energy. So they were like, we have to figure out an efficient way to do this. And when they did, their next step obviously was to go, hey, what if we did this for a house? Mm-hmm. Like it was the obvious move of, we need to talk about this. And of course, Joe Rogan asked Elon about it, and he was like, I can't talk about that. Like he's looking at the cameras like I said too much, kind of deal.
That's right.
But I was like, I told my wife, I said, wouldn't that be great if it's, the time for us to redo these, that is just the time when this thing kicks off, because that would be perfect.
Yeah.
I would love to switch over to something like that. That'd be way more efficient. I mean, geez, that would be super. But I don't know that's going to happen. I definitely think the split system is probably the way to go for that room above the garage.
Yeah.
But for the main part of the house, our regular unit works great. So I'm not unhappy with it, and it seems working fine right now.
My regular unit that we put in.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's, like I said, I got one bigger than I needed for the house because of the tax. I couldn't get the tax credit otherwise. And so, my house is plenty cool. It's just not super efficient, right? Those just aren't efficient. And of course, it's more efficient than my 1981. Yeah. But still, not as good as these other things. So, and it's interesting. Elon Musk is like... I can't remember who I was listening to, but I was listening to someone who was basically talking about how little actual like new things we'd invented in the last however many years, right? Like in world at the end of World War II, we invented like everything.
Yeah.
And then we sort of stopped. We just haven't really done anything. And I mean, like I don't remember in my lifetime that they were talking about
Well, with the exception
changes.
of like technology-based things like our phones and computers and crap like that.
Well, but I mean, I haven't remembered in my life where they started talking about fundamental changes to things like an air conditioning unit.
Yeah.
Like where someone said, okay, well, we've been doing air conditioning this way for 100 years.
Or a toilet.
Is there a better way to do it?
Or, yeah.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, I think that's really interesting that we're starting to look at those things and, but you're right. From an invention standpoint, it's all technology.
Yeah.
And we stopped thinking
the tech
about,
boom.
yeah, we stopped thinking about the other things in our lives and trying to improve on those things. I was reading something like it was one of those like time wasting websites or something. It was like a list of 10 really useless things. And I'm just saying this because this split unit that he put in the bedroom we're sleeping in at my mom's house has an LED light that was incredibly, incredibly bright for no reason. And one of the things that list said is like one of the most useless things was LED lights on everything that you can't turn off.
Yeah.
I mean, if you went like in my house, there's so many things that have like a piece of paper taped over an LED light because otherwise it would be like lit up by like Christmas. Yeah. Like why are there LED lights on everything?
Yeah.
Why is there an LED light on that air conditioning unit that you cannot turn off and that is bright as crap for no particular reason, right? I don't understand, but they do that.
We got a new router for the house and it's got one of those mesh systems. So it's a center point and then
beautiful,
two points on the outside.
Yeah.
Well, neat enough, they actually have an LED light, which, again, why would you need one?
Right.
But it has a thing for sound also, so that it'll make like a beep noise if you wanted it to. And I was like, why would you need that?
Yeah,
but
right.
it came with the option of turning it off. And I was like, well, there's a good thing.
Yeah, no
Why
kidding.
not be able to turn it off? And then the base unit itself has an LED with a display that changes. And you can have it brighter or softer. And I was like, well, that's kind of cool. I had it off for a while, and Doris was like, I kind of like looking at it. And I was like, what? She goes, well, especially the one that's got the time on it. It's kind of neat to look up once in a while and go, oh, okay,
How do you like your mesh system?
I love it.
Yeah, me too.
I love it.
Yeah.
I got one that's Amplify is the name of the company. Jeff Veely's my computer expert guy. I was like, I'm looking at doing this, and he was like, I can tell you the one I recommend. And I was like, that's what I'm looking for.
There you go. Yeah,
and he goes,
exactly.
he sent me the link, and I go, that's the one I'm buying right now.
Yeah, we did. I did a. I don't have a huge house by any means, but I still had it where I had dead spots, like in my back porch and on my side porch and all this stuff. I'd have dead spots, and I did the Kickstarter or the crowdfunding thing for Eero, which
back
is
before web internet was a thing. That was one of the first ones I saw that came out.
And so, so I did that way back then. So I've had it for a number of years, a mesh system. And I mean, it is awesome. If you were here's what I'll say, like Wi-Fi extenders are worthless, right? We tried a bunch of them. They're useless. Like they don't do anything. If you have dead spots in your house, get a mesh system, right? I mean, it's so good that I can like access my internet on my neighbor's porch. I can access it on the road behind my house. I can access it everywhere. It's amazing.
We put one in on that wall.
Yeah.
So that I can get all in the garage, in the driveway, side of the house. We got one in the office so that we're on the back porch or on the side of the house or anywhere. Yeah. And then the upstairs also pings off this one.
Yeah. And
then the living room takes care of all of the TV needs and all of whatnot. And I was like, this is great. Why hadn't we thought about this before? But, it works flawlessly.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing you never think about is like mine has this app, and I'm looking at the app. The last time one of them went down for some reason, I had to reset it or whatever. But it says like the devices connected to your network, and it was like 14.
Yeah.
And you don't even think about these days how many devices you have that are connected to your network. I mean, you have to have internet, like, right? You have no choice. So, I mean, I don't know. I think mesh systems are the way to go. They're really beautiful.
Plus, as far as like signing on guests or stuff like that, whenever people come over, they're like, what's your password? And I'm like, just open your device. And my thing will go, so-and-so wants to access your thing. Do you want to let them? And I'm like, sure.
Yeah, that's
And it gives them like 24 access without actually having to give out passwords. You're just like, yeah, just fine.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, so easy.
Yeah. Our front door's kind of like that. That's another thing that we got is one of those front doors with a keypad, right? Mm-hmm. But we got one of the ones that hooks to your Wi-Fi network, so I can do everything on my phone. But one of the things is it has like you can put in 54 like 4-digit codes basically. And so like if you were going to come to my house, I could give you your own code and I could say how long I want it to be good. I can even make it good for certain hours. Like if you have a housekeeper and you say, okay, I'm going to give the housekeeper this door code. It's only good from 1 to 3 p.m. because that's when they're supposed to be here cleaning my house. And then it logs every single time someone comes in so you know who it was, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's pretty awesome. I'm like, yeah, I'm down. But we did something like coming here this weekend. Our friend Wes went and checked on our cats for us or whatever. And so I sent him a code and, whatever, he could get in the house. But now I deactivate the code and he can't get in the house anymore. I mean, It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So that's really a cool thing.
That is neat.
Yeah.
We did the Ring doorbells recently on the front and back porch.
How's that?
I like it. It was more for Dolores. She was more curious about who's out there. Like
narwhals.
Well, the back porch, we have those motion detector lights. And at night, like cats set it off or a raccoon or whatever. And she's just like, what if there's somebody out there? Like, there's nobody out there. There could be somebody out there. Like, trust me, there's nobody out there. What are they doing? Sit on the couch and be like, this is really comfy.
Yeah, wow. I mean, this furniture is nice. Woo.
I can't believe you built this. It's like they're not lifting that couch. I can guarantee you that. She's like, I just want to see what's back there. I'm like, okay, fine. So I bought these things. They actually had a thing on Amazon where it was a refurbished deal, so like half price.
Right, nice.
And they work fine. There's nothing wrong with them.
No, refurb stuff is great.
I charged them. Setting them up was super easy. I put them out there. I let her play with it. I I got the thing on my phone and her phone, and I was like, this is more for you than anything. So I turned off all the notifications on mine, but like anytime someone's around the front door or back door, it makes that little noise on hers, and she's like, ooh, who's at the door? And I'm like, I'm so glad you have a hobby now, because I really don't care, but whatever.
I want to get one that like identify things, like it beeps it says like tarantula. So I'm not going out there. Right? Yeah.
Well, like the front door, it is helpful for the front door because people randomly knock on my front door to sell me stuff, and I'm just like, I don't want to answer the phone.
Yeah, exactly.
But like that way, at least I can look and see if it's my mom.
Can't you like yell at them and stuff and be like, get away from my door? Yeah.
I don't want any.
That's right.
I gave it the office. I'm not your father.
I do love Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. You're right.
The police have been notified. Please get off the porch.
Yeah, I really should get a Ring doorbell. I think those are cool. And what I really like about them is like right now I'm out of town. Yeah. And so if people come around, you can see on your phone, all that kind of stuff. And you can talk to people through it, right? Like if
the delivery guys, whenever they deliver something, they always here lately they've gotten into a habit of just pressing the ring. And that way at least they're letting people know, hey, by the way, I'm dropping this off. Yeah, yeah. But she can see the motion on it. So, I mean, you can set the distance on it, too, so that it knows not to, like, scan the road when people drive by. Right. It'll scan, like, closer. Yeah, yeah. And if you want it to scan farther, you can. The only thing that's a little different is it has a battery, a lithium-ion battery that you have to charge them. But the charge lasts for, like, I don't even know, over a month. Really? So you can see the battery life on the thing. So I told her, I was like, listen, this is your fun thing, so you keep up with the battery life and you tell me when it needs to be changed. And I'll bring them inside and I'll charge them. Is it true that like you can watch the video in real time, but that unless you do some subscription, it doesn't actually record it and you can't But the subscription is like $3 per device per month. Oh, okay. So it's cheap. Yeah, yeah. And then if you do the subscription thing, you can sign up for something called Neighborhood so that everybody in your neighborhood who has one, like say there's somebody going door to door and just checking to see what kind of mischief they can get into. Yeah. You can share your videos with them and say, hey, look out for this guy. This is what's going on. And that way you can like see, if there's somebody's had break-ins, they can notify you and say, hey, be aware if you see this vehicle. So you're like, oh, okay, cool. So it's her fun little hobby. That's cool. My brother-in-law put a Ring doorbell on in his front porch, and not too long after that, we got a video from him where my nephew had gone out on the front porch and he was peeing off the porch and he got caught in the Ring doorbell. I was like, yeah, that's sweet right there. Yeah, nice. Yeah. And you wonder, like, how many times did he pee off the front porch prior to you catching him on the Ring doorbell, right? Well, yeah. Well, that's how a lot of people don't say that, but that's how you teach your young boys how to pee anywhere other than their diapers. Like, hey, let's go pee on this tree. Let's go pee off the porch. They think it's fun, then they want to do it more often. Yeah, well, that little green tree that you see outside the window there on the other side of the railing. Yeah, yeah. I took my grandson Jackson out there, and I was like, "Hey, let's pee on this tree." Yeah. He's like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah." So every time we walk outside, we gotta pee on a tree. And I was like, "I know we do." Well, it's really close to my nephew's video game room. He doesn't want to. It's closer to go pee off the porch than it is to go to the bathroom, and so he doesn't want to stop Fortnite any longer than possibly necessary. And yeah, so that's what he does. Not anymore, of course. Ring has destroyed his life. I tell you what, I'm seeing the advertisements for that PS5, and I'm really tempted to pull the trigger and get a PS5. I haven't had a game system since
I know, it's been a long time.
the original Xbox.
I know.
But I'm looking at it, and I'm like, especially some of these games that you see previews for, I'm like, I kind of want to play that. That looks like a lot of fun, you know?
I mean, my real problem is, like, I think about that, and I used to think about that in terms of awesome, and now I think about it in terms of time, and I don't have time. I just don't have time.
I mean, yes. So, like, Joe Rogan talked about that. He has said that he's addicted to playing Doom.
Oh.
He's like, I will lose my wife and kids if I play Doom. He's like, I will play it so obsessively that they'll leave me.
Yeah,
and they'll be like, yeah, we don't associate with Daddy anymore, you know.
Oh boy, wow.
But he's like, I have to manage my time, because if I don't, I will get sucked into it. And so for a long time, he's like, I refuse to play it again, because if I do, it'll just be over. Well, they built this new podcast studio, and part of the podcast studio was they had a video game people come in, and they built them a system so that they could play in a network. And he's like, he and Jamie would play, and he was like, you know, yeah, I had to get rid of the game because I was spending way too much time up here.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like,
I mean,
I don't trust myself around it. And I was like, that is a concern, especially with you, because I remember the Final Fantasy 7 999 hours use.
Yeah, I played Final Fantasy 7 a tad excessively.
A tad?
Back in the day.
A tad?
I am the only person I know who exploded a halogen light bulb. like I was playing. I
came over when you were vacuuming it. I was like, what happened? I don't want to talk about it.
I think I played like literally for about, I don't know, 60 hours straight, and I had a halogen light bulb, and it got so hot that it exploded. And like I'm literally playing, and like things are raining down on me, and I can't understand what it is. And I've been playing so long, I'm like some kind of troll.
You turned. Like we were pretty active when we were younger playing outside, and during that time you got really, really pale and sort of like Schmeagol from the Lord of the Rings.
Like, yeah.
You're like, hey man, are you okay?
Listen, all I'm going to say is that getting a super chocobo takes sacrifice. Okay, I mean it really does. Like that's not just something everybody does, right? That's hard work.
But see, I would hope that I'm disciplined enough to go, okay, that's enough now. But I don't know.
Well, I don't necessarily even think I'd get addicted to it. I'm not concerned that I would play it too long. I'm concerned that I wouldn't get to play it. Right? That's my concern. My concern is I would spend, that's probably going to cost $500 or $600.
Oh, yeah, it's
right?
going to be at least $500. Yeah.
And I'm worried I'm going to spend that and then buy controllers and buy games, and it's going to be $1,000, and then I'm going to be like, never have time for it, right? So if I got to play, I wouldn't be concerned that I would be wasting too much time on it. I'm worried I wouldn't get to play at all, and I'd spend all that money. So
that's another part of it, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is, I have a PC, and so I don't get this, like, I want to play computer games sometimes, just not a whole bunch. And so when I do, I can play something on my PC as long until I get tired of it and then move on. So that's why I haven't bought video game systems, but there's a time in my life when they were awesome. And, you know, the best video game system is still the N64 that has Super Tecmo Bowl.
I hate the controllers on that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the controllers suck, I know. But Super Tecmo Bowl is great.
I hate that controller. Yeah. It's awful. It's so awful. The original Xbox controller was the bomb, and I really liked it. The original PlayStation controller was crazy. Yeah. But then when they upgraded to the 4 additional buttons on each finger, I was like,
I know.
Oh, I'm out.
Well,
I can't.
Here's what happened. Like, there's this point where we got too old to be good at video games anymore, because like we were okay when it was like this thing where you had to press left, right, up, down, yeah. A, B, A, B, A, B. Yeah, that's great. We could do all that, right?
Or even
now there's 48 buttons.
Even the 4 buttons here and like 1 trigger each. Okay, fine.
Yeah,
but then you added 4 more trigger buttons.
Yeah.
And like every finger does something. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. Listen, have you ever seen someone play the pipe organ, right?
Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like this dude.
If you were an octopus,
this dude is playing the pipe organ.
Yeah.
He's using both hands, all fingers, and both feet all at the same time, like doing all these things with it. And that's what my nephew does with that controller. Every single finger he's touching something all in simultaneously. And if I have 16 weeks, I could probably figure that out. I don't have 16 weeks. He would still
own you.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
And he would probably trash talk you the whole time.
You know, the great thing
you're
is,
so slow and
I'll
old.
play Fortnite with them sometimes. And the awesome thing is they kill me like way more than I ever kill them. However, when I kill them, it infuriates them so badly that my 1 kill is way better. And as a matter of fact, the best thing is the last time we played together, I killed him last. Oh, God, he was so upset. And I talked trash about it all the way until the next time I came. And he's like, we need to play because you killed me last time. I'm like, no, I'm not playing. Like, he was getting infuriated. I was like, I've killed you. I'm done. I don't have to kill you anymore.
I did what I came to do.
That's right.
I still got it.
Yeah. Oh, and it was good. It was an abusive kill. It was one of those like James Bond kills where I'm standing directly behind him and he doesn't even know it. And I was like,
that doesn't get enough credit.
Oh,
GoldenEye game.
Oh my God, GoldenEye's the best game
doesn't
ever.
get enough credit.
No. All you people that like to play Fortnite and Doom and all these shooting games, it all came from GoldenEye.
Yeah,
which
GoldenEye was
is the best
trendsetter.
shooting game ever. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. How many hours did we play that?
I lost track.
Yeah, it was crazy.
All I know, it was infinitely fun because there was no limit to what you could or couldn't do.
God dang, proximity mines. That's all I got to say, right? Proximity mines.
I like the jetpack.
I wish real life had proximity
I like
mines.
to be jetpacking around and just suddenly land behind somebody and kill them. I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah. And Fortnite, like, I don't know. See, the problem is that when we played that game, yes, it was incredibly repetitive and we loved it. But now I play Fortnite and I'm like, how can you play this game? Because it's exactly the same every single time. Like, it's so repetitive. But then I have to think back, well, we played GoldenEye like that and it was very repetitive and we had a good time with it. So that's fine. But, you know, the difference being that when we played all these games, we were all in a room together. Right.
Yes.
So we were having a good time with each other.
So we could trash talk each other in the process and have fun.
I mean,
with
it was fun with a group of friends more than it is now, where you're just on some headset with some
stranger.
48-year-old from Wisconsin. Right. It was like, yeah, like GoldenEye was fun because we were all sitting there and we were all trash talking each other, and then other people were in the room and we were doing other things. We'd be playing the season of Pickleball or something, and yeah, one person's playing, but the rest of us are all just having a good time together. Right. So it was a social event more than it is like I'm going to sit in my house and you know.
Well, it was the fun of, hey, we're going to go over to so and so's house and we're
Oh, yeah.
we're going to play for a few hours and see what happens.
My nephews live next door to like their two best friends who they like could all play Fortnite, and they don't get together and play it. They're all in their own. My nephews aren't even in the same room because they're in different rooms with different consoles and different TVs. And then at their house, they're in different, and no one's looking at each other, talking to each other. They'll have his headset on, and that's how they're talking to each other.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man. I mean, I guess that's the way it is now, but it's not fun like
World
we
of
did
Warcraft was kind of a venture into that. You know, there was a time where you tried to convince me to play it, and I wasn't in a position to play it then. I was not financially available, and nor was I had time available. I was a single parent with 2 kids.
Sure.
And later on, I started playing, and there was a time where we had 4 computers going in the house with 4 different accounts and 4 different people with headsets, and we're all playing. Sometimes we'd be together, but we'd be in all parts of the house trying to play something together, and it was just like, it was weird. It was very strange.
Yeah, that's how it is now, right?
And there was a certain point where I just had to get off of it. I was like, I can't do this and dad. I gotta either dad or do this.
Can't do this and live, right?
Right,
Like,
because there's other stuff that needs your attention.
Yeah, I gotta work.
Yeah.
Like, someone has to pay the mortgage. I guess I better do that.
My brother will tell you he was going to college at Charleston and got on academic probation because of World of Warcraft in his first semester and had to come home.
Yeah.
His mom was like, "That's it, you lost your tuition. You're going to FMU." And he was like, "But this ain't fair." I was like, "Fair? You get to go to FMU for free? That's not fair."
Yeah, right.
I was like, "Tell her thank you, and you do it and smile.
Yeah, I know.
And you get back on you get your grades back up, and then you get your money back, and then you can go back to college Charleston." I said, "But fair? Don't come to me about fair."
Oh yeah, no, it's really bad. It's some kids are really wasting good opportunities, I suppose. But World of Warcraft was a fun game. I mean, it had its time. I know it's still out there. I lost interest in it, of course, but
it's still thriving. There's still a whole community.
Everything becomes. I guess the real problem is how repetitive everything gets.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and there's some comfort in playing a game where you know everything about it, I suppose. But
and that was. For a lot of reasons, that was why the sports games, like especially the football games, were extremely popular with us because there's no telling what would happen.
Oh yeah.
So at any given moment, someone can pull off something amazing. You're like, holy crap! I can't believe.
Well, I mean, we did know what would happen. Treadaway would throw
we knew
Montana to Rice.
We had to guard
800
that.
yards.
What we had to do is figure out how to guard that. That was the hardest part.
Yeah, but no, we had a lot of fun with it. But I think the thing is like, I don't think we necessarily played an excessive amount of video games. I mean, I had that period where I did, but I was doing that by myself, not really with you guys. But the point being, when we played them, we
call
usually
them the
played
dark years
together as a group. The dark years. I really do. Like Wes would say, like he would come over and come in my room, and I'd like literally be on the floor and with like a blanket over my head or something and play, and then he'd be like, he'd use the Gollum reference, like. It's like, dude, you need to A, shower, and B, get out of the house, right? Like, because you got a real problem.
I think I'm speaking for everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
This is for your own good. Guys, get him.
I've had some games that I spent some time playing, but nothing ever like Final Fantasy VII. That was that's my favorite game of all time. That was amazing. What a good game. They put so much time into it. They put so much time into that game. No game that came out after that has had that much time put into it and had so many side quests and had so much stuff. It's amazing.
Yes and no. There are games out there that are extremely immense, but I mean, you think about the progression of games. That game wouldn't have been there if Zelda hadn't have done what it did.
That's right.
No, and there's always a progression of this game led to that game kind of deal.
Yep.
I mean, that open sandbox design of, hey, I could go do this or I could go do this other thing. I mean, that was really revolutionary.
Final Fantasy VII had the best, in my opinion, like weapon. Like, you had the weapons and you had the crystals you put in the weapons and in the armor and stuff. And
there was
it had
a lot of customization
system.
That was really unusual.
Best system. And the other cool thing is that you had an individual thing that did something, but then when you combined them, they did different things, And there was a lot to it. And I mean, yeah. And the reason I played it so much is because I literally did every single thing you can do in that game. And I actually had a side boss that lived under the water who had like 1 million hit points. And you kill the side boss, and then when you got to the end of the game, the guy at the end of the game was so much easier than the side boss that it was just like it's like a letdown because you were like, wait a minute, I killed this other dude.
Well, and it had all the special attacks that were like movie sequences within themselves, so you knew when it was going off, you're like, all right, take a breather, and it's going like 3, 2, 1. All right, we're back in it, and it's just watching the game now with the new system. There's the added element of being able to strife side to side. So if something's coming to you, you're like, no, I don't think so. You can move out of the way. And it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. You're not just stuck in that stagnant 3-person setup. But now the game itself looks like the whole movie, like it used to look.
Yeah,
and those cinematic cutaways, now the whole thing is that well done. And it's like, God, this is gorgeous to even look at. I mean, every scene is so pretty.
Yeah, and I'm curious about, because I haven't played the new one, because I'm not going to buy a system just to play it, because I don't have time. I mean, I can't play Final Fantasy VII, because I wouldn't be satisfied, doing part of the game, right?
No.
And so I'm curious to know, and I mean, I can ask West, he's got it, and, but just...
and Alex.
If they have the same kind of battle system, and do they have all the same... kind of orbs and all the same stuff they had before.
You can actually watch it on
Twitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing I don't have time for. If there's one thing I actually refuse to do, as little time as I would actually have to play video games, I ain't watching somebody else play them.
Listen, I've gone down the rabbit hole specifically for my son to watch him play some of these games.
Yeah.
And it's very immersive in what you can do. And I guess from the element of me doing all this crap, I kind of want to be a producer and director and be like, hey, listen, if you do this, this will get this, and this. I kind of want to set him up a little bit and be hey, listen, you got a good idea, but you need to have a microphone. You got to talk into it. You got to talk about what you're doing. You got to let's get a camera on you from this angle. Let's do some lighting.
You want to set him up on Twitch to, yeah.
It's so crazy. I mean, because one thing leads to the other, and as you learn, you're like, there's ways we could do this differently. I mean, that was one of the things we talked about when we did the 5-hour podcast, the legendary 5-hour podcast.
Yeah.
Josh West kept talking about these epic things he was going to do, and I was like, dude, you could be making money at all of this.
Oh my gosh!
Especially when he starts talking about building his own simulator racing game. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Jesus Christ, man, this is all really cool. Make YouTube videos. Show how you build this.
Well, poor Josh West. I mean, not poor Josh West. I mean, his primary goals are raise his daughter, take care of his family.
Exactly.
I mean, so he's got time. I know he does. But
he's lacking the support system of what we're learning on each of us in different ways. What we could be helping each other do on a bigger scale.
Well, I mean, it's interesting what it is in life that people find important and why they find it important.
Yeah.
And just at this point in his life, those are things he's interested in, but he just has not found those to be important enough to really go forward with them yet. And I don't know if that's a lack of I mean, it's as likely as it is that he just has family responsibilities as anything else. But, you never know. You throw that stuff around. I mean, I do that. I have everything I do now are things I talked about doing for a long period of time. And then you get to the right place in time and you start doing them. I mean, or maybe you never do some of them. I'm sure that, yeah. And no one can do all of them, but you hope that you do some of them and at least you enjoy it.
I'm going to try.
You're going to try
I'm
to
going
do
to try really hard.
Well, but you get to this point where, I mean, you have these things you love. You like to make furniture and you like to do the podcast and like to do those things. And some of those are time-consuming things, right?
They're all time-consuming.
Yeah. I mean, you get to this point where I just don't have time to add anything else right now. Yeah. And then you have to do this value-add addition in your head. It's like, well, okay, I'd like to do this new thing, but something else is going to have to go.
Yeah.
You got to weigh it all out,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that sometimes when people are like, have you seen this show? Like, no. You need to watch it. I'm like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I don't.
Absolutely right.
If I have time, I will, but I probably won't have time. So it's probably not going to get watched.
No, that's absolutely right. And again, that comes down to the fact that whatever it is that you're going to spend that time on, that show's not as important to you as that.
So speaking of things that I spend time on and it's either pointless or has a point, there's a show on Netflix that was like a reality-based show that came out recently. It's called Too Hot to Handle. Oh. And I watched it. It was garbage. It was garbage reality TV. The premise of the idea of the show is they pick out these contestants that are these real pretty people who are like hypersexual. Nice. And they put them on like a Paradise Island scenario. And they don't tell them for like the first 12 hours why they're there. They just keep meeting each other and they're all like sizing each other up and they're flirting with each other and some of them are making out and stuff like that.
Nice.
And then they have these cone-looking things that talk to them, and this thing tells them, you're here on this island for a reason, and that's so that you can understand deeper connections with people. So one of the rules of this island is you can't have any contact with each other sexually whatsoever. You can't have sex. You can't kiss. And if you can do this, and if you can learn the tools that we're going to give you through these workshops and different things, there's a cash prize of $100,000.
Really?
But if you cause an infraction, it's going to cost you money. So it was interesting. The characters are kind of interesting. The idea is interesting because it's never been done before. But
yeah, right. The only reality show ever where they're encouraging you not to have sex with everybody else.
The best part is it's hosted or narrated by this lady who's kind of a comedian. She's pretty funny, and she's narrating each scene. And she goes, "Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Like all this stuff's coming up, and
right.
And she narrates the whole thing. Well, at the very end, she has a Q&A with everybody. I guess like it says like 8 months later. So I don't know. I mean, I know everything has to go through production and stuff like that before they can air it.
Yeah.
So she does this thing at the very end, and her last thing that she says was this show is proof that you can build a hit show as long as you're willing to lower your standards to the bottom of the barrel.
Well, I think we already knew that, right? Like we have plenty of shows that are like that, right?
So I watched it and I was entertained. Parts of it was like I was like, come on, you got to be kidding me. This ain't real. But also like it was just one of those things where at the very end her thing kind of summed it all up. I was like, yeah, it's a great idea, but also like this is the like lowest common denominator of the show that you could ask for.
Human, yeah. Well, it's weird. It seems odd to me that you could like drop a bunch of people on an island and that it's like, do you think for some period of time I can not have sex with some of these people, and that's hard? Like that's like, I can't do that.
Well, for these people,
I can't do that.
I mean, there's a reason that they're like that. Usually, it has to do with low self-esteem. Yeah. So they all had to, in some way, figure out that along the path and realize, oh yeah, this is why I'm. Like this.
So people actually like came out of the other side like better people, supposedly. Yes. Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll take that.
It has a redeeming.
At
quality.
Least that has a point.
It does have a redeeming quality, and not everybody's on board. Like the people who aren't on board get kicked off the island. They're like, you're out. And then they bring in other people at certain points.
Yeah.
It's an interesting dynamic of events that happen. And honestly, I started watching it just because I was watching another show that's really intense. Yeah. And I was like, I can't watch this before bed.
Need a break.
So I wanted to watch something mindless, and this was perfect. I was like, I don't have to think about it. It's so silly, but also I don't care.
Yeah.
But it's something to have on that was entertaining and light and kind of lighthearted. And I was just like, yeah, whatever. I watched an episode and I'm like, that was interesting. I'll go to bed now.
I'll make a new twist on that show. It'll be like, we'll put people on the island that are so disgusting that no one would want to have sex with them at all. And see, can we make it happen?
I don't want to watch that. That's the problem, is no one wants to watch that. They don't even want to watch that.
I don't know. What some of the TV I've seen is so bad that I bet you people would watch that.
Maybe.
I bet they would. I bet there's people that would 100% watch that.
Maybe.
I could tell you this story. This isn't a good story, but it sums that up for me.
I like it already.
Yeah. So like I was talking to someone who said I should get on Twitter. Now, I'm not on Twitter. I have no desire to be on Twitter. I don't think anyone cares what I
Only
have to say.
2% of the population is actually on Twitter. I just learned that recently.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, so he's like, oh man, I was like, no one cares what I say. Oh yeah, everyone will care what you say. Get on Twitter. So many people. And I'm like, no one cares. I don't care. And he kept on and he kept on and he said, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I was like, what I'm going to do is every time I take a dump, I'm going to take a picture and I'm going to post it on Twitter. And I kid you not, he was like, oh my God, so many people would follow you. And I'm like, well, that proves I'm not going to be on Twitter. Like, if that.
Oh, jeez. I got on Twitter because of Bert Kreischer, because he actually responds on Twitter. I don't know why, but he does. And then I found that other celebrities will respond on Twitter once in a while. And it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I did learn by listening to a lot of podcasts, like I do, that only 2% of the world population is actually on Twitter. And of those 2%, only like 4% of those people actually post anything. Most people just look at it and read stuff and just click off, which I was doing that for a lot, you know. But here lately, with all the stuff that's going on in the news, I've been reading more and more ads, reading more stuff, and people posting videos from these events and showing videos of things that are happening. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. I wouldn't have learned it if I didn't look at this, because the news isn't talking about any of this.
No, you're right about that.
So I'm actually learning things. You know, what was it? The big there was a big protest in Egypt a few years ago, and no news report was talking about it, but they took their thing on to Twitter, and they were showing their rallies on Twitter.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for Twitter, none of the world would have known what was going on.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's kind of interesting. I mean, I kind of dig that.
Sure.
So I try to follow different news sources on Twitter to get, different information of what's going on, but that's the only thing I really use it for. And also to promote this, but no one gives a crap because only 2% is on there. So
yeah, I mean,
what do they care?
Yeah. I don't have any desire. Like,
I like Instagram just because it's like, here's a picture of this. I don't care if anybody does anything with it. I just like taking pictures of it, because once in a while I'll go back and I'll look at it and I'll go, because there's things that you put on your photo album in your phone that you're like, yeah, I'll delete that. You delete a lot of stuff, but then once in a while you're like, oh crap, I forgot I deleted that thing. What was that photo? And you go back and it's like kind of like the cloud.
like a photo album.
Yeah, kind of like the photo album.
Yeah.
But also it's a way to promote things. So like if you see somebody that's doing something kind of cool and you're like, hey guys, check this out. It's easier to link things together, and it's not limited by. Twitter has like 140 characters or whatever it is. It's not limited by whatever. So if you want to write something, you can.
Yeah.
It's a little more user friendly than Twitter. But it's not Facebook, which Facebook is more like your mom's checking on you to see what you're doing.
Exactly.
Kind of deal.
Yeah.
I don't know. I get really tired of Facebook, and I would get rid of Facebook if it wasn't for the fact that there's so much that does actually involve the community of people that I know that are on Facebook. And I'm like, well, I kind of want to keep it just for that, but also I could just as easily get rid of it. I don't care that much.
I think if it wasn't for the band, I probably would dump Facebook. But
yeah,
it's too.
Well, and because of the band, a lot of people are connected to you through that.
Well, right. I mean, like every single person that comes to one of our shows learns about it through Facebook, right? And so, unless it's people at work, but yeah, we have a big following on Facebook, and I have to keep it for that reason. And there's a ton of people I friended. I don't really know much about them, right? And it's all for the band. Yeah.
This podcast, I wouldn't be able to get the word out about this podcast if it wasn't for Facebook.
That's right.
Because of Facebook, it has been shared a lot.
So it has, some benefits, but honestly, like I don't post anything on my face, because the other thing is because of the band, like there's a ton of work people on there, because I really worked hard to not have work people on my Facebook for a long time, because I wanted to be able to post what I wanted. And I didn't want people at work to be like,
What is he saying? I can't believe he said that.
Well, I mean, we're in an age now where you could post something on Facebook and get fired for it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so I was careful. So now I got all these people from work and all these people, and it's all about the band. And so basically I don't say anything on Facebook like that I broadcast generally. If I broadcast stuff, it's going to be on Messenger to you guys, right? I'm not putting things out there because you can't, you can't. It's just crazy. And you put stuff up there, and like 10 years later, people dig it up and talk. You know what I mean? I mean, it's bad stuff. So I'm not enamored with it, and I would be okay deleting it, but except for the band stuff.
It's sort of necessary in a weird way.
Well, if you have a podcast or you have a band or you have something where you need to get information out to a big group of people, and it's a platform where when the band's playing that I can tell someone, hey, like us on Facebook, right? Like, There's not really...
Or if you're looking for recommendations for something, if you're like looking for a repairman for something, you're like, hey, can anybody recommend blah, blah, blah? Sure. Someone's going to reach out and be like,
but
so-and-so.
So little that comes across that's useful. Mm-hmm. Some of it's funny. I mean, memes are funny, right?
I like the funny
They find
memes.
some funny memes. But other than that, what value does Facebook really give you? I mean, Messenger is important to me because I connect with you guys, like all my friends on Messenger. Like anything I say of any substance is not coming through Facebook.
But you don't have to use Messenger. You could just use chat. You could just...
Well, I could text. I know. I mean,
you just text.
I know. I can.
And you could do group text.
Yeah.
I mean...
Sure, I can.
To me, it's always an extra app that I don't think about. And then I had to turn my notifications on because I was like, oh crap, I've missed like 3 days of these guys bantering back and forth, and I didn't realize it because I turned my sound off.
Yeah.
But
I don't know why. I mean, it's just what we use. I mean, it's not that we couldn't use something else, but I think the point being that...
I think it's because West has an Android, and he can't do the other as well. Something happens.
Android. Or, doesn't he have like an iPhone 3?
No, it's a Samsung something or other.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Well, I think the thing is, the point is, though, is you have to be... I don't know. You have to be, in my opinion, pretty careful about what you put on Facebook these days.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I know everyone's not, and I know everyone's... But, I mean...
Well, and, again, what you're saying is, which a lot of people need to understand that, especially the younger crowd out there, if they're listening, is, like you're saying, be careful what you post. You don't want to post something that your employer's going to read one day and be like, wait, what's he doing?
Oh, man, you wouldn't believe, like, employers now, when you apply for a job, they're going to look at your Facebook page 100%.
Yeah.
And if you have a bunch of pictures on your Facebook page of you lying around on the beach getting drunk with all your friends, you're not getting hired. I mean, it's just not going to happen. They're going to look at that, and they're going to make us judgments. And you might have done that once, and that's not something you did for 10 years, and then you just had a trip with your friends recently and did it, but they're going to look at that, and they're going to judge you based on that. And they're going to use that.
Or if all your stuff is hate speech stuff,
oh,
and
God,
you're trying to get a job. No.
Right. I mean, and people that post, like... I don't know, just stuff that makes you look unprofessional, right? Like they're like, I don't even want to bring that into my business, right? Yeah. So, and the other thing is once you put it up there too, it never goes away. I mean, look at all the stuff that's happening right now where everyone's digging through and finding stuff that people did and said 10 years ago and then using it against them, right? Mm-hmm. It's like it doesn't go away either. So, I think you have to be pretty cautious. If I didn't have my job, I wouldn't care, right? But I'm not going to do something online that's going to jeopardize my ability to keep my current job or get a future job. That just doesn't make any sense.
And there's definitely a thought process that should go through people's minds. It doesn't, but it should go through people's minds before they hit that button of reposting or sending. And it's like, I don't know. To me, I call it the mom resolution. Do you want your mom looking at this?
Oh, right.
And if the answer is usually no, then just not do it. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing that's interesting to me, too, is that people feel like that they're behind Facebook and that it's some sort of shield, right? And I think people think that they're going to post something in it, and I said this in something I actually posted the other day, but just along the lines that they think it's going to go on the national news or a million people are going to see it. The only people seeing your stuff that you post are your friends and family, like the people you've allowed. So it's like if you're posting a bunch of terrible things, the only people you're broadcasting it to are the people you know, right?
Yeah,
it's a terrible... Why would you do that?
The people you thought was your echo chamber who may or may not be on board with you.
No, I mean, that's my thing.
Some of those people are going to ghost you if you say something really crazy. They're going to be like, sorry, I'm out.
Yeah. I mean, I think the point is that why would you want to, and it's all, there's a lot of emotion-based posting, and there's a lot of people that post things. They don't even really read what the post says. Yeah. Like, I have friends who will post something, and you read it, and you're just like, why would you possibly post that? And I'll send a message, be like, what was that about? And they're like, oh, I didn't really read it. I'm like, why would you post something you didn't read?
if something's posted, and it's got a little paragraph thing, but it says more, if I click more and it goes, I just go, no, I don't care. And I don't read it. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care what you say.
I got time for that.
I don't have time for it. Sorry. I mean, I'm sure you said some really cool stuff, but don't care.
Yeah. No, that's right. Just post a funny meme.
But I'm just as guilty of it.
Meme.
There's times where I get on a rant. I'm like, hey, like, I mean, it's all stuff that I would now do on this. But, for some reason, I would just type it, and I was thinking, now this is the outlet for that. This is the thing where I want to be able to verbally say, because you can get more from people's inflection of their voice than you can from a typed word. Because when you read it in your voice. You don't read it in their voice.
Well,
and when you read it in your voice, you put your own inflection in things.
I know,
and things
it sounds
different.
Terrible, and they never meant it to sound that way, right?
You could have a grammatical error and put a comma in the wrong place.
They read it and thought it was funny.
Yeah.
And, I read it and think it's super offensive. Well, so, and the problem is I think it's super offensive, and I'm throwing it back on that person, saying that why is that person posting something they never meant to post like that, right?
Yep.
But it's why email's bad.
Or maybe they did.
Well, maybe, but you doubt it among your friends and family.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't assume they're trying to make you angry, right? So like emails like that at work, right? Like it's because you have no vocal inflection, you can't see what someone's saying, you can't see the body language, and they post an email, they send you an email, and they think it's just a normal email, and you read it, it's like, what are they so pissed off about, right?
Yeah.
Because you just can't tell. I think that unfortunately, for some reason or another, people take Facebook to, I'm going to say a whole bunch of stuff that if I was standing in front of you, I'd never say it. And I think maybe you said you said something about your mom rule, but I think my rule better is that I don't really want to put anything up there that if I was standing there looking at you in the face, I wouldn't say, right? Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
A lot of people post stuff up there. Like there's no way in the world that people would say some of the things to my face that they post up there. Mm-hmm. You know, there's like, it's that thing I thought about the other day where some comedian was like just talking about how when you're a kid, you learn that you don't just do things to annoy bigger kids because they punch you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you learn that. Well, so Facebook is this thing where you think you could say something and there's no big kid around to punch you because if you said that in a group of people, someone would probably punch you, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, but people think in Facebook they don't have to do that. So, you know, I mean, that's the thing. I think that I don't think you should say anything in Facebook that would make the big kid punch you. I don't think there's any reason for it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so people use this wall and they think it's like that they're guarded from everything. And again, the only people reading this crap is your friends and your family. Like that's the last people you'd want to annoy. And you're throwing it out there and you're thinking, oh man, I'm putting this out there and all these people are going to see it and they're going to know my viewpoint. No, those people are not going to see it. Just your friends and family are going to see it. They probably already know your viewpoint. Wouldn't you think?
They already probably tone you out whenever you're talking anyway. So
that's right. Yeah,
or secretly want to punch you. I mean,
I've been ignoring you for 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah. You're still on this thing?
Yeah. So I don't know. I think young people have a really tough time, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, people.
I can't imagine the hurdles. So, you know, a thought came to me the other day is, you know, we talk about how kids are so scattered and they don't seem to be grounded and they have problems with attention deficit disorder and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about it on simple terms, like even breaking down like bands, music. Okay, sure. Let's say you're a kid today and you're like, I like this music. And you walk up to someone who's older, they go, well, that's crap music. You should listen to this.
Yeah.
And if you like that, you should listen to this. And if you like that, you should listen to this. And before you know it, they've handed you 100 different things you're supposed to listen to that you don't have time for. But you're also getting small glimpses of it and going, yeah, I just like that song.
I just like Post Malone.
Why can't I just like that song?
Yeah, that's right.
But it's all the people around you going, no, but you should take your attention to this place, and to this place, and to this place, and to this place. And it's like, enough. Like, really enough. Yeah. But also, I mean, it's a generational thing of we got lucky enough that there wasn't a whole lot of digital catalog of crap to listen to. And the best music that came along came a generation before us, so there wasn't a lot of catching up to do. Yeah. So it was like, okay, well, whatever.
Well, I think, too, like there's a big difference between when, like, you or I in high school. It's like I might come over and I might bring a CD, and I'm like, man, you got to listen to this CD. And then you'd be like, oh, that was awesome. Well, listen to this CD. It's just the two of us. Yeah. As compared to you post that on Facebook, and then 53 people come back with the stuff that you should listen to. And it's a lot.
And that's just with music.
A lot to wade through, right? Yeah.
You've also got TV shows and movies and
well, and a lot of
everything.
And everyone's opinion, unfortunately, is what you have. It's like instead of just having, like, most of the time, I don't care about other people's opinion. I just, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and I'm just saying that. I think that's pretty universal. That you have this small group of friends. You care about what your friends think, and what your friends might say might influence your behavior. Like if your friends are like, yo, dude, hey, you know, right. You'll listen to them. You're your friends. You love them, right? As compared to like 70 strangers are posting all this stuff you should do. I don't care about their opinions, right? But I think that it's really hard now because social media is the way people connect together. How do you weed through all that stuff?
Yeah.
Because I'd weed through it by just going, that guy's not part of our group. I don't care what he says, right? But that's your 70 people is all your group, supposedly. I mean, you don't have these close friends anymore.
Like you were talking about, you know, with the band and whatnot and becoming friends with people on there that you wouldn't normally think you'd be friends with on Facebook. Suddenly your group is bigger and you're like, I really don't know half these people.
Yeah, well, and it's not that I don't like those people. It's just
you don't know
I
them.
didn't meet them somewhere.
Or you might know them in small regards, but they don't They don't know you.
No, I mean, I met them at a band show, and they're like, I really like your band. And I'm like, well, like our Facebook page so you know where we play so you can come see us. And when they come see us, am I going to talk to those people? Sure I am. Do I really know them? Do they really know me? No,
Do they
right?
come over to the house? Do they?
Yeah, no. I mean, that's
their house. Or,
yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like we're becoming disconnected. And in the same way, maybe we're losing a lot of the family, right? Yes. We're also losing small groups of friends.
Yes.
Right? I mean, we talk about how lucky we are that we still have our same small group of high school friends at whatever age we are. And that just doesn't exist anymore because people just don't have those groups of friends like they did. It's all social media stuff. It's, it's got to be much harder.
And with social media the way it is, like, there is an Instagram effect to life where you have a certain group of people who just want to become Instagram famous. So they're only making friends with people who can further their career path. And I don't want to do that if it doesn't help me get likes or if it doesn't help me do this other thing. And so it's all an adventure towards how do I get myself more exposure.
It's all me. Me, right? And everybody's me. And everyone likes everyone's post because I like your post and then you like my post and I get more likes and that makes me feel good about it.
There's a Black Mirror episode of this. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Yes, I did.
It was my least favorite when I watched it, but afterwards I thought about it more and I thought, that really is a great show. It has a lot of real meaning.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, but I mean, it's... I think it's much harder and I think it's bad. And I think, too, like, we're losing a lot of learning social norms, right? Like, again, a social norm is that you're in a group of people and there's just stuff you don't say because people don't like you and don't talk to you anymore or some big guy punches you in the face or whatever. It doesn't happen on social media. You put that stuff out there and because people read it and they're like, I don't really like that. But they're like, well, maybe I'll post something they won't like. And so I'm not going to say anything about it. And it's just like everyone's behind this shield and does and says whatever. And you're not learning socially acceptable behaviors, right? And you're not learning, hey, like, how many times in my life did I do or say something and I was like, well, I guess I shouldn't do that again. That wasn't a good idea. You can't do that on Facebook, right? Yeah. Like, and even if you do that on Facebook and somebody like replies back and says, I don't like that, most people are just be like, well, screw you. I don't care what you say. I mean, you know what I mean? It's
when you're younger, like I know we took ourselves way too seriously. I mean, and there was a lot of stuff that we did that I look back now and I go, and like I've got old notebooks and stuff that I read once in a while. I'm like, who wrote this? Is this me? I wrote this? I don't think I'm that insightful now. Jesus, so deep and heavy. And
oh, I know you were always a very dark and heavy writer. Yes,
but reading it now, I'm just like, what, what's going on?
Well, you out of everyone else in our group has changed the most, in my opinion, and in several ways. I mean,
I was picking Treadaway. I mean, he lost hair. He got smarter.
I mean, we all made some changes. But
he used to be really, really smart, and I mean, not like nerdy smart, like good grades.
Well, I mean, I think maybe the Marines specifically about you and parenthood, right? I think are the two maybe, and that's just where I'm coming from. You probably have better insight than me, but the Marines definitely changed you. And then when you had all of a sudden the responsibility of parenthood, it changed you too. Yeah. And so you're, to me, out of all of us, like, I don't know if I'm the same. I feel the same.
I like to think of it as adaptable.
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah. I mean, I think you...
Because you either adapt or you get run over.
You're the more mature of us now. Like, right? Like, now. You couldn't have said that in high school.
No.
But now you are. Like, you're the one now that the rest of us look at and go, wow, he's got his shit together. And he sort of has figured out some of the things that life.
But it's about. Also, yes, because of the kids. Yes, because of the Marine Corps. But it was also, it's one of those things where after you get through that and you get to a certain point in your life, you go, well, I really missed out on like doing some crap that would have been fun. And so you try to find your moments where you get to like do stupid things like play with Legos.
Well, sure.
I mean, crap like that.
Well, those aren't nearly as harmful. Like playing doesn't compare to the things that we did in the past.
But because of that, because of the process and the steps, it is one of those things where I can't sleep because I'll wake up and I'll think about all the things I need to do or I want to do or I should be doing and that I feel responsible for.
Yeah,
and then there's the added element of being in our 40s now, late 40s, and I told my mom, I said, I feel like I'm running downhill with my hair on fire. And she goes, oh, that's mortality. She goes, it only gets worse. And I was that doesn't help me at all. She's like, I'm just telling you. She's like, that's why I sleep 3 hours a night. And I was like, I don't want to sleep 3 hours a night. She goes, I don't either. But you can't shut your brain off. And it's like, I got to do this because I only have a limited amount of time. She's like, look at your dad. Your dad's building cars and building houses and doing this and doing that. And he can't stop himself. And she goes, it only gets worse. And
yeah, right.
so, I mean, I'm getting it from both sides, but it's also the thing where, there is a bit of panic, and it's like, how do I get myself to calm down? And that Lego thing was 6 hours of me thinking about nothing but that.
Right.
And Dolores was like, you didn't have to do it so quick. And I was like, that was the most relaxing 6 hours I've had in so long.
Well, I mean, just think about it from the standpoint of, I don't know. I look at our group, and I love everyone in our group, but I think that you've made some significant changes. I think you're a ton of a different person than you were when we were younger.
Well, yeah.
Whereas I think a lot of us aren't much. I don't think I am much. I don't think Treadaway is that much. Josh West, not much. I mean, we're who we are. I don't know that any of us made any really significant changes, and maybe I'm just blind to it. Except you, I see it in you as making some pretty significant changes in your life, and for the better. But it's interesting. You're the one who maybe out of all of us sort of grew up. I feel like sometimes I never nothing significant has grown up for me, work wise, maybe career wise, but other than that, not much.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Well, and being a parent, there is a lot of stressors and things that you have to do because you have to do it. And if you don't do it, then it doesn't get done.
I mean, no, you don't have to because a bunch of parents don't, but you did. And you really worked hard to raise your kids and to have them hopefully be responsible adults, right? That was your goal.
The jury's still out.
Well, but that's not the point. Is not whether or not it even happened, but the point is that it was your goal as a parent.
Yeah.
And because you wanted to set that example, then you had to be that person, right? So it's kind of interesting. I mean, you can't tell your kids to do that stuff, but you not do it. You have to be the example of that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's kind of the thing is every day you have to set the example. And,
right.
When I married my first wife, she told me afterwards, she said, your mom said when we got married, I asked her, is there any advice? And she goes, yeah. She's like, I can tell you one thing about Josh is he's predictably unpredictable. And during that time, I was.
Oh, yeah.
And when she said that to me, I thought, well, that's weird. I never really thought of it that way. But I did sort of make an active decision during that time of, to me, it was funnier to do the thing no one expected. And it was funnier to go after the thing that was like, no one would expect this. I bet it's going to get a huge laugh. I always went for the funny. But also, like, I sort of had this bulletproof mentality of, my mom's kind of in my corner no matter what. She's going to make sure that I'm okay.
Right.
And even though my stepdad was a villain, he would protect me. I mean, ultimately, he would come to my aid if I actually said, hey, I need help. I mean, I was sort of guarded in that way, and I could do things that maybe some people couldn't do and get away with it, and I knew that I was still safe as long as I didn't cross, like, a certain line. And I was like, okay, so we've talked about the fact that somehow we grew up and we didn't cross certain lines that would have cost us our lives.
Certainly.
But we did get to do a lot of things that were maybe I didn't allow my kids to do because I was like, I could have gone down a really dark path if I had kept going down that path.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
But, one of the things, like, if you ask any of my kids now, like my stepson says on a regular basis, the one thing that he takes away from me is just consistency. From day one in his life, I've been consistent. And I was like, I never really thought about it, but somewhere along the way, that was something I realized I had to change. Because of being a dad and because of being a husband and because of the situation that we were going through, blending families together and stuff like that with 3 boys, is the one thing they needed me to be the most is just consistent.
Sure.
And with that consistency, then that allows them to feel comfort. And if I looked at my mom and my stepdad, even though they were completely different people when I was growing up, I consistently knew who they were.
Sure.
So I didn't have to think about, are they going to come home and explode today? Or are they going to come home and be a crazy person? I mean, I knew kind of how they were going to be all the time.
Sure.
So it allowed me just to grow up and just be comfortable with who I am and what I'm doing and stuff like that. So I don't know, something told me just be consistent. So I did. I made an active decision, and I followed through with it.
Yeah, and I think that like talking about reading your old notebooks and stuff, right? Yeah. Like I would read some of that stuff when we were in high school, and to me, you were like the biggest dreamer, right?
Oh yeah.
Like you weren't necessarily like out of all of us, you were the one I could always like, because I always felt like that I was probably pretty practical, but. You
wanted to find, to me, reading stuff that you wrote when you were younger, you wanted to find the truth of things. Like you were like, okay, this is how life is perceived, but I really want to find the truth of it. And I was more like, what if this isn't real?
Yeah, right. No, like you were like,
what if none of this is real?
If there was a metaphysical element to it, that's where you were heading, right? And you're right. That's exactly me. And I'm still to this day. That's what I want to know is the truth about things. I mean, that's what really frustrates me about a lot of stuff is that I know a lot of it's crap. I wish they'd just tell me the real truth of it, and then I'd know where to go with it, right? But, you were that, and then again, you got to this point in your life where you said, hey, I got to stop being that. I got to be consistent. I have to figure out what kind of person I am, because you have to figure out what kind of person you are and what you want that consistency to be, because you can give a bunch of different messages and be consistent, right?
Yeah.
But you want to be consistent in the right way, in a way that would be positive and lead to positive outcomes for your family. And that's pretty different than you were. I think, like I said, I don't know that any of us went through what you went through, which means I don't know that we had to make those changes. I know I didn't have to make those changes, right?
Yeah.
And so, you did it out of necessity. You did it for really good reasons, but you did it. I think that before, you wouldn't have said in our group that you were the one who was the most steady.
No.
Right. But now you are. I think for sure you are. So,
Well,
yeah.
And every step builds off the other, just like anything else. So if you learn something, you use that as a tool to learn the next thing.
Well, sure.
And, every step of growth as a personal human being is part of that. Every step of, learning to build the table or whatever. Everything is a step to another step. Being in a band, you had to learn how to, memorize lyrics. You had to learn to sing to the crowd. You had to learn to entertain the crowd. You had to learn to do everything. So everything helps each other. So if people are either willing to grow and change and learn, or they're not.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with either. It's just that people are different. That's the hard part to understand at a certain point, because, most people expect other people around them to be just like them. And when they're not, they either get scared or they attach to it and they also change. So it's either you're on board or you're not. And it can create this weird mentality between people of, yeah, I'm on board and I don't like that person, or I'm not on board, and whatever. It's just, I don't know.
Well, your message, like the interesting thing about you is you have a consistent message. You've had a consistent message now for a number of years, right? Your consistent message is personal responsibility.
Personal responsibility.
And you can achieve whatever you want to achieve as long as you get off your butt and do it.
Get off your butt and do it.
Those are your two.
Yeah.
You want to know what your consistent messages are? That's what they are. We all know what they are. And those are good messages. And they're not messages that we hear a lot in the society now, right? I think that's why your podcast is popular. That's the reason. I think people want to hear that.
And I keep trying to reiterate the fact that you don't have to know what you're doing.
No, heck no. Good Lord, no.
You can have a podcast, just hit record and talk. It's just.
Well, the interesting thing about you is again, you can say those are the things you believe in, but you do those things.
But follow through.
You do them because you do them, and you're like, you decide one day, I want to build wood furniture. You got no basis no history. So what do? You learn, you screw up, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, we let anybody screw up anymore? Because,
we should.
Yeah, I don't know if we do. We seem to want people to screw up and then use it against them. But
I like to think that at some point my kids are going to listen to this. No, they probably don't now, but they might listen to this one day. And I hope that if they get anything from it, they'll hear hours and hours of me saying, "You can do it."
Oh yeah,
literally. That's the tagline. You can do it.
Listen, your children are incredibly lucky, and the reason is you can do what you did. And it doesn't guarantee any good outcomes, because unfortunately you can say what you want.
And I'm not expecting anything.
Well, but
that's the whole thing.
You can say what you want, but they still have to make personal decisions.
Yeah.
However, you have a whole bunch of kids who never even had that message as a possibility.
Right.
So the thing is as a parent, you have to provide that message as a possibility. You hope they take it. You can't make them take it. But you win as a parent if you made things a possibility and then they listened. That's winning. Isn't that winning?
I guess.
Yeah. If you can make my opinion of winning, and it's hard for me to talk and people could tell me to shut up. I know I don't have any kids, but just from my mother to me, her whole goal was to make me a productive member of society. She didn't want me to have to rely on anybody else. She didn't want me to be a drag on anybody. She wanted me to be able to succeed. She wanted me to be able to live my own life, make the decisions you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think if you set up a structure under which your children have the opportunity to learn the things that could allow them to do that, then you won as a parent. Now, whether or not they do it, you can't make them.
Yeah.
But, you gave them the opportunity.
Well, and, there is a discussion about the fact that I've listened to a podcast, I think with Dr. Drew, and he said that most people make 90 decisions a day on a general basis, whether they're really important decisions or really small decisions. You make 90 decisions a day.
Yeah.
So in a year, that's thousands of decisions that you've made. Okay. At a certain point in your life, you can't blame your parents for anything else anymore. Yeah. It's your fault because you made decisions.
Sure.
A lot of decisions that led up to who you are now and what you're doing. So, there is that element of it, and as a parent, you're right. You can give them the tools that you need. You can give them support. You can encourage them. You can discipline them. You can try to send them on the right path. But at a certain point, it's their life. Yeah. They get to choose whatever they want to do, and then whatever.
Well, I think the point though is that like you have I think that the right choices have to be a possibility, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think in some ways, somewhere you have to learn. If you're going to make positive, good choices for yourself, you have to learn what those could be, and you have to learn that they're possible. Now, a lot of parents fail to ever teach their children that there is a possibility of making good decisions for yourself, right? Mm-hmm. Now, you've done that. You set a basis. I mean, if your kids listen to this in however many years, my hope is, or why I think it might be useful to them, is to look, where's my life right now? And say, hey, Dad knew what he was talking about, and I can make these positive changes if I want to, right?
Or they may not.
They may not.
And in which case, maybe this helps somebody else out there that's listening.
Sure.
That'll go, I'm kind of looking for some motivation. I need to hear I can do it.
Well, and that's the thing is there's a bunch of people out there whose parents never gave them what you did for your kids. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't have to come from your parents. I mean, maybe it's helpful if it's seen on a consistent basis. Maybe it makes it more real. But if you hear that, you have to know it's a possibility. Yeah. Right? And so you're right. Maybe people hear that and maybe that's good. Are we getting super philosophical today? Whee!
That's fine.
Yeah. I mean,
one of the coolest things I ever heard was from Adam Carolla. He talked about, when he was younger, he had a lot of burner friends, and they would get high and they'd drink and they would work their little meaningless jobs and they would make some money and they lived together and they had a good time. And he's like, but at a certain point I realized I want something more out of life. Mm. And he's like, and to do that, I had to get better friends. And he's like, I just had to get better friends. And he's like, not to say that I'm not still friendly with them, but it's different. He goes, the guys I grew up with would take a bullet for me. The guys who I wanted to be friends with were successful business people. Yeah. He says, because I realized I'm not getting anywhere doing what I'm doing. And he's like, that's when I met Jimmy Kimmel, and he just happened to be able to plug me into what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. He said, and at a certain point, I became friends with Mark Cuban, and I became friends with Dr. Phil, and I became friends with these powerful people that made really smart decisions. And I was like, hey, you got any advice? And he goes, one thing I've learned is people love giving you advice when they figured something out. And he goes, every one of these people has helped me become more successful. And he goes, if you're out there and you're struggling with something, make better friends. Yeah. He's like, doesn't mean that you're not still friends with the guys you grew up with. It just means you've made better friends that are going to help you do the goal that you want to do. And not everybody's like that. I mean, he goes, for a lot of those guys that I grew up with, they're just as content as they could be just being my loser friends that still do the same stupid job. They still get, they work for the weekend, they get high, they drink, whatever. And that's all they'll ever do. He goes, and I still love those guys, but it's different. And for a lot of people, that's okay. But he's like, for me, my brain was just wired where I was like, I got to do more. Yeah. And one of the things I've tried to do with this is I've realized that as a creator of something that's going to live on beyond me, that this is going to reach out to other people and they're going to listen to it one day, and hopefully they'll get something from it that helps motivate them and get them in touch with people, maybe in their community, maybe people they don't even know. Maybe they're just nervous about talking to someone they think that is into something they're into. We'll take your chance. Go ahead and ask that person. Yeah. I became friends with this guy, Danny McWilliams, and he's been on the podcast before. He's the bartender up at King Hefe. Very interesting guy, super creative. He's got his own YouTube page, stuff I kind of care about. Yeah. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's right.
He's very creative. Him and some friends came up with a game show that's on YouTube called Bashbox, B-A-U-X, or B-A-S-H-B-A-U-X. It's a game show they came up with where they're literally, somehow they're streaming through Zoom, and they do Q&A, and they come up with these weird question and answer things, and people can live stream in with them and chat and stuff. And I'm like, how did you do all that? And he goes, I just kept talking to people who are creators, and I was like, I want to do something really creative. I have an idea. And they were like, I'm on board. Yeah, so this past week, he put out the call on Facebook. He's like, any creators interested in doing something with me? I'm like, oh, I'm in. Yeah, right. I don't even care what it is. I'm in.
Yeah, that's right.
He did a fun project where he got in touch with somebody, one of his buddies. He's like, I have an idea. Let's go to the dollar store and let's set a budget.
Oh, you told me about that.
And we're going to spend like $15 and let's make lightsaber hilts out of just junk. And he's like, okay. And I got to watch a good 45 minutes of them playing together. And I was like, dude, call me next time. I want to play.
Right, that's right. Yeah.
I was like, let me do what you do. Because I've gone over there before and I took over the thing because I kept talking. And I was like, I'll not do that next time. Like next time when I go to your, he goes, how about this? When you come to my house, you do what I'm doing. And then when I come to your house, we'll do it. I was like, that I need that parameter. Thank you. Yeah. I was like, but call me. I'll come over. Right, we'll play. We'll do something silly, and it'll be fun. Sure. And maybe it'll inspire somebody else out there to go, I could do that with my friends.
Well, and think about like what you're talking about as far as like, yes, your guys have YouTube and podcasting platforms and all this kind of stuff, but at the same time, you're talking about personal interactions, between yourselves, and building. Like, who was it? I think was it you or somebody was just talking about like. Oh, you were talking about it. Well, like you had someone ask you, well, you figured out how to do this stuff. How come you're telling other people how to do it?
Yeah.
And it's sort of this thing where...
Well, yeah, Ron White came over. We did a podcast together.
Yeah.
Ron's the guy that did all my tattoos.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was telling me, he was like, so you've learned how to do this. Why are you telling other people how to do it? And I was like, because everyone should know how to do it. And he was like, I get that. He goes, but in my profession, if like I show a bunch of people how to tattoo, then that's my competition. And I was like, they're not my competition.
That's right.
If I'm showing other people how to do this, then it's a community.
Well, it's an idea that...
And like if I inspire them, they may inspire me.
Well, yeah, and it's a different business. It's this idea, you have to get, I think, outside of this idea that if I succeed, or if others succeed, it means I fail.
Right.
Right? We can all succeed. That's okay. Let's help each other do that. Why wouldn't we want to do that?
Listen, Snoop Dogg said it best. Ain't no fun unless your friends have some.
I don't think that's what he said.
He was talking about running a train on a girl, but this is totally different. This is way more inspirational. Right. He still wasn't wrong.
No, he still wasn't wrong. Hey, so I'm probably going to have to wrap it up here, but I don't know what time that it is, but I'm enjoying talking to you. Like, it's funny, this podcast is good, man, because, you're my good friend and stuff. Like, we can just sit here and, like, this podcast, I never consider this like a podcast. It's just like you and I are chatting, right? Yeah.
I mean, like other than my intro of talking about blah, 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 and once in a while I'll look at the screen to make sure this thing's counting and not off.
Yeah.
I don't think about it. I mean,
it is. And that's why I like, too, when we did the 5-hour podcast, like that whole 5-hour podcast, like I said, you said people like it. I'm glad people like it, but I was concerned because I was like, we talked about all this stuff that only we would know what it means. Right. And I'm like, how are people going to like this? They're going to be like, what are they talking about?
Well,
but
I was talking to Danny about this past weekend. He and I were talking about, I said, I want to do something that's not normal. Danny Shaw he came on with the policeman that I had on, Ian and Mike.
That was a good one, yeah.
So Danny was here with me, and Danny and Lori Shaw, they have the pool we go over to all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, Danny I hung out with last weekend with Kelvin. Kelvin's been on the podcast too. He was on the mental health one. I was telling him, I said, I want to do something that's unusual. Like, I want to start going on location and doing stuff. Like if we come over to the pool, like, let's just set up microphones in the corner and let's talk while we're splashing around in the pool. Let's do something out of the box thinking that just has people talking in normal conversations. And last weekend, all our wives were out of town doing different things. And, my wife and his wife were in Miami at the time. And we had like a 5-hour conversation with me, him, and Kelvin. And I was like, God, this would make a great... We would stop once in a while and one of us would say, this would make a great podcast. Why aren't we recording this? And I was like, sometimes you got to live your life, man. So there's moments like that where you're just like, this would make good conversation, but also like, it's important to just have those connections with people also. So
well, and maybe that's why people liked it, because honestly, we're just real when we do this stuff. Like, if you think I'm dumb on podcast, I'm dumb, right? Because this is me.
And I had no plan. Like, that was the whole thing. Is I think I was just going to hit record and see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't like us on this podcast, you won't like us in real life, because this is us, right? Yeah. So it's fun. I mean, the great thing about coming on your podcast and why I like it so much is, like I said, it's just you and I spending some time talking to each other. And
I want to get your mom on here and talk about personal finance and all the crazy stuff, how she learned what she learned, how she got so smart about money. And I have no idea all of the tricks she knows, and she probably won't even say all of it, but there's a lot of stuff that she figured out along the way. Very smart.
I 100% know what my mother would say if you asked her that. And you think it would be this really long conversation, it would be exceptionally short.
She'd have like one sentence.
No, what she would say is, it doesn't matter what you make. It matters what you save. Because my mother, the first year I was a nurse, I started making more money the first year I was a nurse than my mother made in any year of her life working. And that doesn't matter. She's got a bunch of money now. Why? Because she didn't spend it all, right? Our problem in this country with money is not that we don't make enough, it's that we spend too much and everybody's in debt. And this coronavirus thing really took that home. We know these people make $100,000 a year who lost one paycheck and then couldn't pay their bills, right? So I hate to sum it up, and you can have her on, but what she's going to say is that people need to save money. Don't spend all your money. That's it. I mean, she never had a lot of money, but she saved a lot of money, and she didn't spend it on a bunch of frivolous stuff. Like, you didn't catch her shopping all the time, right? Like, she just never carried debt, and she saved her money. That's it. Those are and honestly, you could read like a whole bunch of financial books and go through 200 pages, and the end result of that book is that. Save more, spend less. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Doesn't matter how much money you make. There's a financial podcast I listen to, two doctors together made $500,000 a year. They put $1,000 in savings in 2018. So even though they made $500,000 a year, they spent $498,000 of it. It doesn't matter what you make. There's a whole bunch of people in 2019 that made $40,000 a year and put $5,000 in savings that had more than those two doctors. Why? Because they saved and didn't spend. It's not what you make, it's what you save. That's it. Don't live outside your means. I live well below my means, right?
Yeah.
Well, I do that for a specific reason.
Well, and you got everything you need. You don't need a bigger house. You don't need to show off anything.
No.
You got a vehicle that's dependable.
Listen, like someone I know was basically just like always like, oh, they have all this nice stuff, and they have a new house, and they have a boat, and they have 2 jet skis and 2 brand new cars. I'm like, they own none of it.
Yeah.
Like they get in an injury and miss 2 paychecks.
They're in debt
all
to their
gone.
eyeballs.
All gone. There's people living in those big houses, and you think I'm crazy when I say this, but it's true. People live in these big houses with these brand new cars that have to think about how they can put food on the table tomorrow because they don't have enough money to buy food because they spent all their money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you can be financially successful in this life. I would consider my mother wildly financially successful. And she never made more than I made the first year I worked. Why? Because she saved her money. That's it. It's not, and it has nothing to do with what you make. Whatever you make, just don't waste it all. Because you can make as much as you want. And I think you and I talked about this last night, but just for the podcast sake of where everybody says, if I only made $20,000 more a year, I'd be okay. But the problem is that you don't know how, if you have no money now, it's because you don't know how to save and manage your money. If I gave you $20,000 more this year, $100,000 more, $2 billion more, you'd spend it all because you don't know how to manage it.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not what's coming in. It's what you do with what's coming in. And you could have twice as much come in. And if you spend it all, you're no better off than you were to start with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, that's the best money advice there is. I think that's what my mom would say, and I don't want to speak on her behalf, and I'm sure she'd say other things, but I think that would be the root of it. You know what I mean? My mother loved to tell me never to talk to her about money. Like, once I started working, and I was like, man, I don't have any money. She'd be like, don't talk to me. You make more than I do. I was like, okay, well, there you go.
One of my favorite conversations I ever had with her was New Year's Eve. I was like, you have a New Year's resolution? She goes, I don't believe in that. I'm like, really? She goes, no. She goes, you can make a decision now and change everything. And I was like, what? She goes, where do you want to put your feet?
Yeah.
Make that your life.
Yeah.
She goes, the people who say they're going to do something Monday, never do. The people who say they're going to do something on New Year's, never do. Mm-hmm. So if you make up your mind, just do it. Yeah. And for whatever reason, it's like hearing sound in your ears go, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
It hit home to me. I don't know why, but she was right.
My mother's such a unique person, and she just does these interesting things, and she does them because she wants to, and it makes her happy. And she's a great example of a person who, like, when we lived in Foxcroft neighborhood over here, every year she went out and Foxcroft had these wooden signs that had the road names on it, and ours was Eden Dairy Way, right? Well, every year she went on and painted that sign. Every other sign in the neighborhood looked like crap and all the paint was faded. Ours always looked great because my mom went and painted it every year. And I asked her one time, I was like, why are you painting the sign? She's like, because I want our sign to look nice. This is my street. I want it to look good. It makes me happy. Bang, right? Yeah.
Real simple.
It's an excellent example of who my mother is as a person. I wouldn't have ever thought in a million years of painting that sign, right? But, she said, I want my street to look nice. It was important to her. She took the time to go do it. And,
I remember that. It was like brown with yellow paint.
Yeah. But she painted it every year. Mm-hmm. And so, my mother is a person who, like you, she believes a lot of things that you talk about now. And she certainly believes in, she always told me all the time, she's like, whatever you want to do, go do it. You're only going to do it if you decide to do it. You'll do it, right?
If there's any kids out there going, I really want to be a millionaire, but what?
Yeah, exactly.
What are you waiting for?
Yeah.
Like, it's just a numbers game. What do you want? You need to make more money? Go get a job, make more money. I don't have that kind of education. Okay, go get a CDL. I can tell you there's guys I work with making 6 figures. They work hard. They physically work hard.
Sure.
It's not going to get given to you. But if you're making 6 figures and you control what you spend, you can have $1 million.
Yeah. Oh, $1 million is not a is not unattainable. I mean, there's books out there. One of the financial books, it's called The Millionaire Next Door, talking about all the people in the country that have $1 million, and it's $1 million net worth, where it's because they didn't take on a lot of debt, because debt, of course, is negative net worth, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's people who didn't take on a lot of debt. And these are, I wonder if you could talk to all those people, the one thing that they would tell you is they don't frivolously spend money. Like, when they get money, it's going towards paying off debt or it's going into savings. Those are the people who achieve $1 million. $1 million is not unheard of by any means. It's not hard.
Dave Ramsey has people on all the time. One of my favorite conversations with this lady saying her and her husband were school teachers. They never made more than $40,000 a year. And when they retired, they had $6 million in the bank.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
She was like, we drove Honda Civics.
Yes.
We raised 3 kids.
Yeah.
We live in a modest house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
Yeah, no.
Paid it off within our first 5 years of living there. And we retired with $6 million in the bank.
Yeah,
he was like,
exactly.
That's great. And she's like, I know.
Yeah. And I mean, it seems really weird because it like good financial control is about those 9,000 decisions a day that you talked about, because a lot of those decisions have to do with money. And you think I'm crazy if I say to you that one of those decisions you make might be to go get a $5 cup of coffee at Starbucks when you can get a 20-cent or a free cup of coffee somewhere, right? And, but Starbucks is specialty coffee. Okay, well, all the people who buy specialty coffee aren't retiring with $1 million. I mean, I'm just telling you, right? Yeah. It's because of the fact that, it's that mindset that, and when people work, they tell themselves, well, I worked hard this week, so I deserve this thing I'm going to buy myself. Can you do it? Sure, you can do it. But, waste all that money, you're not going to have any left. And the other thing, too, just comes down to, like, I don't know, early in life, it's like high school guidance counselors. Are there even those anymore? But if they are, I mean, I don't know that they do necessarily a great job, because of the fact that, like, if you're going to go to college, and especially if someone can't pay for it for you and you're going to take out student loans, right, you have got to get a degree that is going to earn you, that you're going to get a job. Because so many people go to college and they're going into a field that's so crowded that there's no room for them. So
or a career that it doesn't have an income.
Yeah. Oh, well, and that's the other point. The other point is I'm going into social work. And so I took $60,000 in debt to go make $29,000 a year as a social worker if I can get that job. And think about, at $30,000 a year, how in the world are you going to pay off $60,000 in debt? And then you'll even have kids who go to pharmacy school, right? And so you've got someone who goes to pharmacy school, they take out $160,000 in debt, they're going to make $85,000 a year. Kids have no clue about taxes. They have no clue that they got to pay rent and all the bills they're going to have to pay. And they also go and put a $6 or a 6-year loan on a new BMW for $500 a month.
Yeah.
And they realize pretty quickly that $85,000 is gone.
That's the Dave Ramsey, he calls it doctor broke. All these doctors that get a doctor's degree.
Oh, yeah.
And they could be several $100,000 in debt. But because they're doctors, now they feel like they need to go start a family and buy a new car and a new house. And then they're in debt up to their eyeballs and they'll never get out from under it.
Yeah, I would know.
Like, that's why a lot of doctors you'll see living together with other doctors when they're done, because they're like, I got to pay off this debt before I can start my life.
No kidding.
And they'll basically live at the hospital as much as they can, because they're like, I have to eat here, I have to sleep here, I have to be here.
Hey, I got to tell you, if anybody happens to be listening to this, who's looking for a career, if you have a second career, maybe your first one fizzled out, maybe you're a kid and you're trying to figure out what to do with yourself, go into nursing.
I got CDL.
Yeah.
Nursing or CDL, I'm telling you.
I mean, nursing.
You can get a job like that, buddy.
Nursing is 200,000 people short. And so basically anywhere in the country at any time you want to get a job, you can get a job. And when you get a job, you make a good income.
There's 280,000 truck drivers needed right now.
Yeah. Right. Those are the jobs you go into.
They'll hire you tomorrow with a CDL. No experience necessary. You might have to work for a crappy operation like Swift or JB Hunt or one of those beginner trucking places, and you'll stay gone a lot for your first couple of months, but you'll get that experience. You'll learn what you can do, how to make money, and you'll go on to another place and you'll make way more money.
Yeah.
But you can make money, but it takes work. I mean, nothing's going to be given to you.
I'll tell you, nursing school is hard. I don't think it's any fun.
Nursing is hard.
Yeah, nursing is hard, but nursing school is probably worse. But I think but again, I mean, I think there's so many advantages to it, just from the standpoint of never having to worry about ever having a job and always a good salary. Like, not that I want to not be in my current job, because I like what I do and I want to keep doing it, but if I was fired, so what? Right? I mean, it's like, I'm a nurse. I'm a nurse practitioner, but even if they told me I couldn't work as a nurse practitioner anymore, I can still go work as a nurse anywhere I want, anytime,
Yeah.
So there is, I think, like one of the things that they said about money is that money can't really make you happy. And it can't, but it can make you unhappy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you can make decisions. Like if you're super in debt and can't figure out how to put food on the table for your kids, that's an unhappy time. And so
the real happiness for me was when I was able to go to the gas pump and not worry about what I'm pumping.
Yes.
Or if I got to go to Walmart and not care about what I put in my
Yeah, exactly.
As far as food.
Yes.
Because there was a time in my life where it was I struggled. Being a single parent with 2 kids, I struggled a lot. And there was times where I paid with groceries with a credit card thinking, I don't know if I can pay this off ever. But I have to put food on the table.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So it was all these cost-cutting things, and it made me miserable.
Yeah.
And then there was a certain point in my life where it didn't anymore, and I could put in the buggy. I want this for dinner. I want that for dinner. And you can just put in the buggy, and you don't care. You just go, and you're like, I know money's there.
Sure. And so the point being...
That's the happiness we talk about. That's the happiness that people need to strive for, not the, I'm going to live on a yacht one day. No.
Yeah, right.
Strive for the personal satisfaction of knowing that you're comfortable and you're taken care of. You don't have to worry about if something goes wrong with your air conditioner unit or your battery goes out in your car or whatever. That's the happiness level that you strive for.
Yeah, and I think you can make some really big decisions to, money can make you unhappy, but there's a lot of decisions you can make to not have that happen. And one of them is save money and have an emergency fund. So when your air conditioner breaks, you can get it fixed and you're not living without air conditioning. What career you choose, right? Like one of the things I never had to worry about in my entire life was ever having a job and ever being able to bring in income and never. And that's a career. It's because of my career choice. Now
it's recession proof.
It's 100%. It's COVID proof. It's everything.
Proof.
It's everything proof. There's no time under which my services will not be required.
You're gonna make money.
Yeah,
you're gonna work, but you're gonna make money.
And so you can make decisions to do that. So many men specifically that lose careers go back to nursing school. Why? Because it's a heck of a way to not have to worry about money.
There's male nurses needed. They need guys to help lift bodies at times because you have to move a patient from a bed to a.
When I went to nursing school, there was 50-something people in class and 4 guys, and now all nursing classes are 50% guys.
They should be.
Yeah, they're everywhere. Yeah, and it's good. It's a great career for a man. I could say it. But and then the other thing too, you think about with money is that they say that at least 50% of divorces are caused by arguments over money, and so. If you manage your money well and you don't choose to have money problems by spending everything you earn and by whatever, you can kind of take half of the chances you'd get divorced off the table.
Yeah. Well, and the other part that nobody talks about is the fact that you got to communicate about your money. You got to be honest with each other.
You should talk to someone about money before you ever marry them. Yeah. Right. But definitely you can't hide money in a marriage.
Most people get married when they're young and they're not even honest with themselves about what they spend money on.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the things that you have to do is you have to say, okay, I do spend this much on this on a normal basis. And you both have to be able to talk about it and be honest about it and be okay with it. One of the things guys have a problem with is how much their wife spends on makeup and clothes and hair. And you have to be okay with it at a certain point because you have to realize this is kind of why I'm with her is because she's pretty and I like her to be happy and this is the stuff that makes her happy. And she also has to be on board with the fact of, okay, but I also need to maybe curtail some of this because I don't need to spend as much as I was at times. And you can look at your budget and go, okay, I was spending this every 4 weeks. Why can't I stretch it out to every 5 weeks or maybe every 6 weeks? And then when you're honest about your money, then you start feeling happier about what you're spending because you don't worry about it. You're like, okay, we know our budget. We know we're okay.
Well, one of the things you just said was key was budget.
Budget.
Yeah, because most people don't have one.
For those people who don't know what a budget is, go to DaveRamsey.com, DaveRamsey.com.
Yeah.
He's got all the tools in there for free. I'm not asking you for $1. Everything on there is fair for free. You can listen to podcasts. You can look. He's got a budget calculator. Just be honest. Be honest with yourself first of all, but then you got to be honest with the person you're with also. If you're with in a couple,
yeah.
But all of his tools are there for free if you want to access them.
Well, and when you say don't spend everything you earn, the problem is you don't most people don't have any idea what they spend money on because they go to Starbucks and they spend $5 and they never think about it again. They drink the cup of coffee, throw it away. They don't think about that until you start budgeting, until you start keeping a notebook of what you're spending money on. It's funny. Before anyone starts to budget, which I think everyone should budget, but why don't you spend a week and every time you spend money, write it down. And then at the end of that week, look through it and look at all of the things that you spent money on that after a week you would think are frivolous or ridiculous, number one. And number two, then start asking yourself, what if this was unnecessary? And I think what you'd find out is half of it's unnecessary, right? And so that's the thing is that's where you say to yourself, gosh, I can't save any money. Where's it going to come from? That's where it comes from. Yeah. It's a 50% of things that are unnecessary and that you even would think were frivolous, that you're just doing mindlessly without even thinking about it. And money takes thought. You have to think about it, and you have to think, where's it going and what am I doing with it? And you have to think about what your goals are, right?
Yep.
But just a real quick story, and then I really have to go. But the point is we had a TV and it broke, right? Yep. And so, we had put a budget in place. One thing I like about Dave's Ramsey budget is it has blow money in it. And so, you have a couple, you're talking about as couples, you have to think about, well, how do we come together on a budget? And so the way we got agreement on our budget was I gave my wife twice as much blow money as me. And I didn't need that much, and she did, and that's fine. It worked out. It made her agree and be happy, and me agree and be happy, because both people have to be happy with it or it doesn't work. But we were saving money and saving money and saving money, it's funny, the thing that actually kind of got in her head to say what we were doing was good finally was our TV went out. And she was really going like, oh my God, our TV's out. We can't watch TV in bed. What are we going to do? I was like, let's get in the car. She said, what do you mean get in the car? I was like, let's go get in the car. We'll go to Sam's right now. We'll get a new TV. She's like, how are we going to get a new TV? I said, we've been saving money. This is why we save money. So, and not that a TV is an essential, right? But the point is that it was that moment for her where she's like, wow, I really like that something like this could happen. And we could just go get a new TV. We don't have to worry about it, right? And I told her, and it's the same thing for if our dishwasher went out. If something really essential went out, that's why we've been saving money, so that we can get it fixed. And
if the heat pump goes out.
Yeah, and we don't have to worry about it.
Just call the guy.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing is. And air conditioning went out in her car. And I had gotten to where I was like, she was like, knew I didn't want to spend a bunch of money. And she called me and she was just like, oh, man. She was really worried that I was going to be very upset. And I was like, fix it right now. I don't care what it costs. And she's like, what do you mean? I know you don't. I'm like, that's air conditioning. Air conditioning. I'll spend any amount of money. Yeah. Any amount of money. Any amount of money it costs to put air conditioning in everything, I will spend it. Like, if you want me to break my budget, or you're like, where would Greg break his budget? Air conditioning.
100%. I'm on board.
Yeah. I was like, I don't care what it costs. Get it fixed.
I'm not going to be miserable. I
no kidding. I am not driving around in a car in Southwest Georgia with no air conditioning. Not going to happen.
No.
Yeah. But again, I don't have to worry. If my air conditioning went out, I don't have to worry. I can fix it. Yeah. And again, I've lived in my life like you did. Well, I didn't live like you did. You lived in where you truly had like people that you had to take care of with money, and money got tight, and that's a terrible situation. I've never had that. I never had kids.
It was also one of those weird situations where my mom came to me at one point and she was like, I can fix all your problems with money, but you wouldn't learn anything.
Yeah.
She's like, I can't help you. You got to figure it out. And I was like,
that
what?
Sucks.
And I was so angry at her for that, but it was also the best thing for me.
Right, now you understand.
Because when I came through the other side of it, I couldn't say, oh, she bailed me out. I can just count on her to bail me out from now on. Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't have changed any of your behaviors.
Right.
If she just bailed you out.
Because of that tough love.
Yeah.
And because she was like, you have to figure this out, and you're going to be better for it, and I love you, and good luck.
Yeah.
I was just like, what? And then when I came to the other side, I was like, oh, I actually did learn something from that, and I'm more proud of myself for it. And you're right.
Well, so handing you, it's like that thing about like, give a man a fish versus teach him to fish, right?
Yeah.
And like give you a fish, you eat the fish, and you don't have any food.
Like I could hand somebody all this equipment and go, here, make a podcast. And they go, and they might do an episode. Mm. But if I show them that they can use their current phone that they have and start from there, and if they want to stay consistent with it, they can. I've made YouTube videos along the way. Here's how you do it. This is what you got to do.
Yeah.
If you want to do it that way, you can. If you want to stick with your phone, you can. Whatever. It is that I'm going to teach you how to do your own thing, and if you want to do it, you can. But if you don't, okay, that's fine too. I don't care. If you want your part, do the work.
Yeah.
I'll help you get the tools. I'll encourage you. I'll support you. I'll talk about you. I'll send audience your way. But then it's yours. It's yours to up and run with or not. Whatever. I've shown probably 15 people how to do this. You're the only person that's followed through.
Well,
5 in 40 podcast, by the way, guys. Check it out.
Yeah.
5 in 40. He's got 10 episodes up now.
Yeah. Well, and I do gotta go, man. But just to finish the last thought, which was basically that there's been times I've always, from the very first year I became a nurse, I did at 20 years old, always made enough money to support myself well.
Yep.
And
you didn't overspend what you were
well,
making.
no, I did. Like, that's the point, is I never had an excuse to not have any money. And there were times when I had to put gas in my car, and I was like, where am I going to get the money from? And I put on a credit card. And that's only from overspending. That's it. It's from overspending.
So you learned your lesson during those times.
Well, no, I mean, unfortunately.
I'm looking for the silver lining
well,
here.
No, I mean, I did learn the lesson. The point is,
you had to, otherwise you wouldn't be there now.
It took me a long time. It took me longer than it should have to learn the lesson, especially considering my mother, right? But, I had good foundation. But the point is that I'm someone who can certainly say I managed money very, very poorly for a portion of my life. And it never was because I had a good reason for it. There's people who have good reasons to be in financial bad situations. I never did. And so, one day I was like, holy crap, I'm tired of this, right? Again, I realized money was making me unhappy. And I made plenty of it. So I was like, why is money making me unhappy? Well, yeah, I had to figure it out and change, right? But,
Stop going to Vegas.
I did go to Vegas a lot. That's true. That is one of the reasons. We went like 7 years in a row. And I enjoyed that. And I don't know that I'd want to take that back. But with that being said, there is so much more peace in managing your money well and not having, it's just, again, there's so much worry that you can add to your plate or you can avoid completely. Mm-hmm. And why we have enough to worry about in this life. Why do we want to make decisions that would make that much, much, much worse? And in money, it's one of the easiest places to either make decisions to make things good or make them bad. So you can make them good. I'm certainly you. Both of us are examples of people who were in bad places and through choice and through things and learning, right? We both learned. Yep. And now we're making good decisions. And I can certainly tell you that it's much better to make good decisions. It's much happier life, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, much happier life. And knowing that I'm taking care of my wife and I don't have to worry about things, right? I mean, that's good. And the things you learned about taking care of your family and the things you've done. And so, I guess I'm not saying any of this to say good for us. What I'm saying is that
anybody can do it.
Anyone can do it. And if you're in a place where you are up at night worrying about money, which I've done, and senseless, right? I beat myself up because I'm like, you're an idiot. You make plenty of money, but you can spend it all. And when you do, bad things happen, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Well, I'm going to wrap this up before we go on to another subject because I feel like we could.
Yeah, I got to go.
Thank you for being a part of this, and thank you for coming on.
Hey, man, thanks for having me.
Glad you got to come visit.
Glad face-to-face instead of, I like the Zoom stuff, but this is good.
The Zoom stuff's convenient, but this is way better. Yeah, everybody out there listening, listen, encourage one another, support one another, be kind to one another. I know we're going through a lot right now in the media and in the personal lives of everybody. Have a little more patience with one another, and you don't know. I mean, all this could turn around, and we're ultimately going to be making decisions with each other. So we need each other in our corners. We need to be able to talk to our neighbors. We need to talk to people across the aisle. Open lines of communication. Be conscious of what you're saying, and don't shut people out just for thinking differently than you. You're going to need them to help move forward. Our leaders are not going to make the decisions we want, so it's going to be up to us to fix this. So let's all be part of it.
Well, I think, unfortunately, this is a time where we've kind of being turn towards assuming the worst about everyone. And I think we need to assume the best about everyone. And then if they
don't fall into the team mentality. This is not teams. This is us trying to figure it out. And literally everybody's trying to figure this out.
Almost no one is the worst. And if they prove it to you, that's fine. But don't assume people are the worst, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because most of them aren't. I mean, what you're seeing on TV is always the worst, but that's not real people, right?
Elections are coming up. If you want to make a change, make a change in the elections.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody who's tuned in. I hope you guys stuck around for the full 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Please rate, review, subscribe, share with your friends. And as always, cue the cow.